You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Good afternoon, everybody. Keith Engle here with TGI Sports Talks. Normally MLB update, but today will be our 2025 MLB preview, and I'll be joined by my co-host Drew Ehrlich in just a minute. I want to welcome everybody watching today on Facebook, YouTube. You should be on Twitter or X, but it looks like our connection is a little unstable over there. Usually that corrects itself. We'll see what happens. If not, we'll share it there later. We're also live on the Roku channel, the National Streaming Sports Roku channel. Get that app downloaded, or that channel downloaded on your Roku app. It's free and lots of great content 7 days a week, guys, right through the whole day. And then a lot of that content is repeated in the evenings. In fact, this show, if you're late goer, late night owl, geez, that's the word I was looking for. You can catch us at midnight every day with a repeat of one show or another. This show will repeat tonight at midnight, for instance. And I want to thank also the groups that allow me to share. John Gonzalez at Sports Authorities, Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime, the Love for Baseball. Great group, guys. I'm telling you, there are, I think, 5, 6, maybe even 700 former players in that group right now, and a ton of former umpires. It's a great group, and Greg does a great job, as does John. Flo and the gang at Bottom Line Sports. Check out their podcast. They do a great job, which they do live on Let's Talk Sports. Still very good friends of this show. DDH, thumbs up. As you know, Dan Harris founded Let's Talk Sports. We have a long-standing relationship there, and we still are sharing our content there weekly. Who else? Golf Buds, Ken Kraus, Golf Buds, Sports of All Sorts. Ralph Williams at RW Media. You want to give him a shout out, especially the Sports Corner he does every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. And we've been a guest there many times. He does that with Smoking Jim Frazier, and we've always had a blast there. Check out Ralph's stuff. He does stuff almost every day. A lot of Pittsburgh-centric stuff. He does even some political stuff there, at least local politics. As well as sports with a national footprint as well. My thanks to Jim Barringer, who was on this morning, and we got a thorough update on everything in the NHL with the Stanley Cup playoff time approaching us and just 10 games left in the regular season. We talked about that in the tournament, the NFL draft, lots of stuff we covered with Jim. And I guess that's it for now. For that, right now we got 2 hours to get through the American League, the National League, winners, losers, rookies, comeback players, whatever you want to talk about. With that, I'll bring in Mr. Drew Ehrlich. How are you, Drew?
I am fine. Thanks for having me again.
Good to have you with us. And it seems weird. You know, it's funny. It came up before we get started. I know you've heard me rant about, Major League Baseball opening in Japan. And it came up today. I was on the Mac and Jack show, and Jack Hirsch made just an offhand comment about, is it a bigger event yesterday, the NCAA tournament or MLB baseball opening day? And I'm like, it's a no-brainer. It's the tournament, and that's not the way it should be. It's all MLB's fault. They don't market this game correctly. We open in foreign countries. We don't have a special day for Cincinnati that they had for decades. Whatever you want to do, you could do something. Play the Field of Dreams game every day, every year on opening day. Do something. I mean, every other league has a special opening day. It's just another day in Major League Baseball.
Yep. The international thing I don't get at all.
Well,
it's not like they're going to add a team in Japan. So I mean,
no, they want to add 3. How's that ever going to work? It could never work. I don't
now
care.
it's travel.
You go over there and spend a month playing those 3 teams or whatever, but still, the travel is going to become a problem no matter how you try to work it out. And it'll affect those teams over there more than the teams here, probably. So,
Sure.
I don't get it. They have a very strong professional league of their own. I don't know why the Japanese would be receptive to it anyway. So, whatever. This is why we're here, and Rob Manfred is wherever mental institution he's in.
Opening day, still opening day for those of us that follow it.
It is. I'm excited to hear play ball, and the crack of the bat and the slap of the glove. But come on, let's treat it like the gem that it is. JB, welcome. We'll talk about your Royals a little bit here in just a minute. And Rick Sherlock, good afternoon to you as well. Oh, guys, we're going to go through division by division, pick our winners. There'll be some surprises. There'll be some head shakers, I'm sure, and we'll have some fun with this, and we'll keep track of it and then report back later.
That's what you always do, to find out just how bad we really were.
Yeah, I've decided, and I know, you're originally from downstate. I've always been was a big fan of WFAN and Mike and the Mad Dog. And when Mike Francesa went out on his own, it's an ongoing laugh that, anytime he makes a bad prediction, which is like, every hour, the tape disappears. My tape never disappears, guys. It's always here. You can come back and laugh at whatever we said here today or any show. So,
Indeed.
Anyway, any precursor you want to throw out there, Drew, before we dive headfirst into what we can look forward to here?
It's the teams aren't as strong as they used to be. Almost every team has holes now, which wasn't the case. You'd have the have-nots, obviously, and still do. But there were always some haves that had hardly any weak spots, and I don't think that's the case anymore. I think almost every division is up for grabs.
We can make a wager, JB. I'll probably be betting on the Orioles. I'll make you take the Yankees, and Rick's got his pad out. So
I'm going to give you some names, Rick. We can't roster everybody. It's only an 8-person league.
He'll be prepared though for when he needs to fill in some spots.
Yeah.
I agree with you, by the way, with your comment. And more often than not, it's pitching. And there's a couple of really good pitching staffs. You know how I feel about Seattle, and we'll talk about them. The Dodgers seem to have 2. They got a whole starting rotation on the DL.
They do.
But still susceptible to injuries because 5 of those guys are on the DL, right? So everybody seems to be susceptible in that starting rotation, even if they look strong. So along with other places. So I agree with you wholeheartedly that other than Dodgers, and who knows, it's baseball, but the Dodgers look insurmountable, but other teams have in other years as well. That's why we play the games.
True.
So anyway, let's jump in head first. In the American
AL East.
We'll start. Where you want to start? The AL or NL?
AL East, your faves.
We got JB here, so we'll start with the AL East. My Yankees, who I'd love to root for, you know me, and Danny Fuller, who I don't see here with us yet, loves to get on me for getting all over my team, but I'm a realist as well, and I always want to be wrong. But this team, I think, is in trouble. I'm going to start talking about them first. Holes in the rotation, as we talked about. Rondon pitched okay yesterday. It's opening day, as you said earlier before we started. I'm not getting excited about one start. Williams, and again, it's only one day. He looked like he was going to hurt somebody yesterday. He was so wild. The third base, I worry about the defense in left field. There's a lot of things to worry about. Comebacks by Goldschmidt, comes back by Bellinger. Wells looks good. I like the move of Wells being in the leadoff position, by the way, because he'll get on base. People they don't understand it because he doesn't steal bases, but that's not all you need in the leadoff position. You need guys on base, right? So Yankees, too many holes. I like this Orioles team. The rotation again is iffy. We got three geezers in the rotation to start the season, at least. with their injuries. Corbin Burns leaving is a big deal. I like the makeup of the everyday lineup, though. I think Jackson Holiday takes a big step forward this year. Gunnar Henderson, once he gets healthy, and he will get healthy, is going to take, I think, maybe even another step forward for him this year. I don't know how much steps there are left, but he's a great player. And the rest of this, they'll miss Santander a little bit, but I think they've got plenty of firepower. I think they play pretty good defense, especially in the infield. I like the Orioles here. I like what Boston's done. Again, some question marks in that rotation, as we said. Crochet and Bellows still too high in the in the rotation. The Blue Jays are the Blue Jays. The pressure seems to be on, but nobody ever gets fired, and they don't necessarily produce. So what's different? And they got the distraction of Vlad. Be interesting to see what happens midseason if they are not meeting expectations. And the Rays, who seem to have always found a way, last year really didn't find a way, and I kind of think that's going to continue myself. So that's my broad view of the division, and we can dive into it a little deeper with your thoughts here, and I'll comment as needed, I guess.
Okay, so before we do anything, what's your order?
Oh, my order. I'm sorry. I got Baltimore.
Yeah.
Boston.
Yeah.
The Yankees.
Yeah.
I don't have the Yankees in the playoffs. We'll get to that later. Blue Jays and the Rays.
Okay. Good. So we're almost exactly the same, except at the bottom. So I'll start with the Orioles, since we have an Orioles fan here. 60% of their staff is hurt right now. So.
Oh, sorry, I said BL. Sorry, I offended a bunch of people. I apologize.
It's not even IR, Rick. It's IL.
Yes, right.
We combined different sports there.
You just offended all the reserved people out there. So.
But yeah, I mean, they got Rodriguez, Wells, Brandish are all hurt, so 60% of their rotation is missing. They signed, as you said, a couple of geezers, Morton and Sugano, from Japan or Korea. I can't remember which.
The Sugano is, I think, Korean.
That's what I thought. Okay. And they got Kramer and Povich filling in. They signed Kyle Gibson, brought him back, another geezer. They need Rodriguez, Wells, and Brandish back, or it's going to be not pretty.
Gibson's your classic innings eater. I mean, as we like.
I love that word.
You got to talk at least once about an innings eater, right?
Yep.
And Morton seems to pitch decent, like his first year in a place too, in my mind. But
that's true, but now he's a year or two older, so
yeah, he's 40, isn't he?
40 or 41. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Relief staff, good relief staff.
Love the bullpen.
They got Bautista back. We're hoping it goes well. Cano, Perez, Aiken. They even have Gregory Soto and Sir Anthony in the pen, although neither of those guys has found a batter they don't like putting on base with walks. But it's an unsung relief corps. We're going to have several of those as we go through this. That I think that's a strength which will help them get through with the staff injured.
Got to get to the bullpen, though, right? That's the thing. The starters are going to be the possible Achilles heel, and you'll hear that a lot popping tonight.
Yep. Well, different teams have different holes, but yeah,
no,
that's going
to
be a fairly consistent one, yeah.
No, true. But we're going to expand because we got so many starting pitchers that are so good right now.
Oh, yeah. Infield, Mountcastle, who I'm still shocked is still there, but I guess Kobe Mayo's not ready yet. Holiday, Westberg, Henderson when he comes back. The bench is weak. So if any of those guys get hurt, as Henderson already is, that's going to put a hole in. And this was supposed to be their strength. Outfield, they got O'Neill to replace Santander. He hits about the same. He hits as many home runs.
Hit a home run yesterday for the 100th, 10th opening 13. Day in a row.
No, sixth time, right? Six
in a row, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Mullins in center. I've never been a Mullins fan. Kierstead, however, has not stepped up yet. So
yeah.
So they got to go with him. Kowser, who I think, similar to Holiday, is going to really sprout this year. even though Rookie of the Year, I wasn't impressed. But I think he's got a feel for it. And they're all young. They are all so young,
Right.
which people forget. They lost Burns, they lost Santander, but I think they filled it up pretty well. As we said, the starting staff is the issue. Their infield pipeline, except for Kobe Mayo, is dead. Anyone else they got is either pitching or outfield at this point, or catcher. They have a couple of really good catching guys, who are not going to come up yet.
Well, other first base, they should be set. It should be set in the infield for a while anyway, theoretically.
As long as they don't get injured.
Right.
I had Boston second as well. Crochet, Houck, and Bueller, and then you pray pretty much. They got Bello, Giolito, Crawford, all hurt. Here we go again. They brought up a rookie, Richard Fitz, who's in the rotation now. He was up actually last year, but he still has rookie status. Not bad. Relief staff is going to be an adventure. You got Chapman, you got Hendricks, who just went a procedure. So he's slightly injured. Slayton is the guy that you watch there. He is their best guy in the bullpen right now. In fact, he got the save last night.
Do you think Devers becomes a problem in Boston if he wants to play third base? He DH yesterday, and Bregman played third base.
I think he's going to be a problem, but not for the reason you say. I mean, his attitude is his attitude. He's supposed to be the full-time DH, which, by the way, creates other issues because now they don't know what to do with Yoshida because he's not starting in the outfield. So that's a problem now. My question with Devers is how is he going to handle DHing? There are a lot of position players that once they DH full-time, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
And if you have an attitude issue on top of that, it's going to be even worse. So they may end up having to stick him back in the field just to get him right again, which is not going to help their defense.
I'm playing him at first base because you're weakening two positions when you move Bregman from third to second where he's not as comfortable and putting Devers at third. It makes no sense from a wanting to win standpoint, right?
Right. And the problem is Cassis isn't bad at first. So,
right.
but again, if he tanks,
right,
do it.
Right.
Outfield is ridiculously still young. With Duran and Rafaela and Abreu, who put on quite a show yesterday. Again, we don't know what their potential is. It could be sky's the limit, or they could still be feeling their way around. But if we saw Duran, that was his second year, and he did really well. Abreu looks like he's comfortable now. He was injured. He was sick for spring training, so he didn't look good then. And they've got some rookies that they're starting. Christian Campbell at second. I do not expect good things from him hitting wise. Great fielder. I do not expect good things from him hitting wise. I think his adjustment period is going to be extreme.
Yeah, and teams don't seem to be terribly patient with guys who can't hit anymore, right? It's funny. I think I mentioned last week I'm reading a book about Earl Weaver, and he would play Belanger. If Belanger, he didn't care if he hit 0. He'd play Belanger because defense was that important to him. But today, teams aren't willing to sacrifice that much. I mean, they will sacrifice some, but some is not 200.
Right. And I don't think he's going to do well. I think he's going to need to be supplanted.
Yeah.
They're also relying on Story to have a good, healthy season. He's looked good since he's been healthy. How long that lasts, who knows? Bregman was a good ad because he's right-handed. They needed that in this lineup.
Yeah.
It's a good team. Again, weak bench. There are very few teams with, I could say, really decent benches in case someone gets hurt. I think you're going to see Marcelo Meyer come up, even though he's a shortstop. If Story gets hurt, there you go. Boom. If not, maybe it's second to replace Campbell. Fitz is already up. He's their number 14. Myers, their number 3, number 12 MLB. You may see Roman Anthony. I don't think they're trying to push him. Again, their outfielders are young to begin with. Why do we need another young one? And they still got Yoshida. So I don't think you're going to see him that much. The rookies are the key, and their bullpen needs to step up.
Point.
Yankees. Right now, this rotation is not scaring anybody.
Well, Will Warren and Carrasco aren't scaring you, and days 3 and 5 or 4.
Not so much. And Rodon's a roller coaster ride. You never know what you're going to get with him. Fried is good until he's fried, because he will go on the IL or IR or whatever you want to call it this day. He will. It's not going to be long stints, but it's going to be a 10-day here, a 15-day there. He's done that the last 3-4 years. Great pitcher when he's in. Stroman, I don't have faith in. Will Warren might be a surprise.
I like Will Warren.
Rookie.
Yeah, I like Will Warren's potential a lot. I like Clark Schmidt. Quite frankly, he's got to get healthy and he's got to be a little more consistent. But I'm hoping that and they need him to take a step forward if they're going to compete at all in this division for sure.
Yeah. This is his year. He's been up a number of times. Last year was the first time he started to show that he really was getting it, and then he got injured. So, right. We got to see what happens there. The bullpen I'm not thrilled with either. Virtually all of them walk a ton of guys.
I like the back of the bullpen. I'm not crazy about the middle innings. Loaizaga needs to come back and be healthy and beat Loaizaga, but his problem, it's been 3 or 4 years since he's been that guy. We keep waiting for it.
Yeah, and then you got to wait and see if he actually comes back like he was.
Yeah, he's a key to this team, and I've been saying it for 3 years, and he hasn't done it. So How long can he keep saying it?
Yeah, the infield, we got the whole Cabrera's filling it right now at third. He had a good spring. We'll see if he can sustain it. There's no power there, so
again, problem with lefties too. He doesn't hit lefties very well. At least hasn't historically.
Right. I'm not believing in a Goldschmidt redux. I'm really not. Great fielder still. I'm not seeing him. But then again, you didn't get much out of what you had there before. So, okay.
Real quick on Goldschmidt. And I never understand these guys. They tear up the league for years and have a great career. And then they want to revamp their whole swing for no reason at all. And he threw away his whole first half last year.
He actually has a reputation for tinkering every year. He's got that rep that he does that in an effort to try to get better. But
I'm hopeful that he and Goldschmidt, again, I want to be wrong about my Yankee prediction as I wanted to be a couple of years ago. Wasn't. I think both these guys can bounce back. Whether they will be a different story.
I also think they're expecting too much from Dominguez. I don't see it.
I had him as my rookie of the year, by the way, and I changed it because he's not going to play enough defense and play enough games. That's what I'm worried about. They're going to find out he cannot handle left field, and they're going to have to figure something else out.
Yeah. But, there's still pieces here. Obviously, and we've mentioned weak spots, so anyone can take it if any of those weak spots become pronounced. But it's not looking good, and I don't have them in the playoffs either. I've got the Rays for 4th. You had them for 5th. Switched them with the Jays. Their strength, as always, is pitching. McClanahan is injured again, and they still have Pepio, Bradley, Rasmussen, Baz, and Lytle. Holy crap. And they've got a couple on the farm that they could bring up, which I'll get to. Relief Fairbanks, Clevenger, Kelly, Rodriguez. You don't know these names, but I'm telling you, they're good people.
Well, the Rays are good at bringing up guys we never heard of, and then we hear about them. So they didn't really make that jump last year. And the whole Franco thing, they've been kind of going the wrong direction ever since the Wander Franco thing. And I don't know how much related. He was great. He was going to be a great player, so that obviously affects them. But this team hasn't seemed the same since that whole thing went in the ditch.
Well, I don't think that's going to be an issue because they've got their number 1 is the 9th rated player in the minors right now, Carson Williams. He's their shortstop. So that's who. I mean, Kim is injured. They got Kim over the
Yeah.
Off season. Supposedly for shortstop, great fielder. But again, if you want a hitter, it may be Carson Williams. They may end up using Kim as a utility guy. They're out. The problem here is they got some guys. Caminero, if he comes into his own, another young kid. Brandon Lowe, if he's ever healthy. Oh, excuse me. He's the Lau. The other two are the Lows. Brandon Lau. I always get those confused. It's potential, but it's not great. Yandy Diaz, Aranda, another young one. I think you may see Carson Williams up. They may need him. Their outfield, I think, is atrocious. You got Josh Lowe, who you never know what you're going to get. DeLuca Morel, really, from the Cubs? No. They're going to end up needing Chandler Simpson, who is their number 7 rookie, most likely. So you can get by on pitching, and you're going to hear me do this whole thing again with the Mariners, but you got to have some hitters, and it's not looking good for the Rays.
All right. So you have both. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I'll shorten it on the Jays because I have them for last.
I forgot we didn't do the Blue. I forgot all about the Blue Jays. Isn't that awful?
But not surprising and probably warranted. There's nothing spectacular here. You've got guys on the back end: Gausman, Berrios, Bassett, Scherzer. We were talking about Baltimore's seniors in their pitching staff. These guys make it look worse.
Right.
Good bullpen. They've always had a good bullpen. They signed Hoffman. They still have Green. They brought back Yimi Garcia. They got Sandlin. Swanson's hurt right now, but they'll get him back. Christian Kirk, not bad. Had a very bad year. Supposedly has it fixed. Traded for Jimenez at second.
I like that move, actually. He's a nice ball player.
Yep. Yeah, Berrios has been on the downside, Scott. He's going to be fried soon. Guerrero, as long as they have him, they just made him another proposal. They're still far apart. Yay. What else is new? Bichette needs a bounce back, so the infield's iffy. Third base, Clement, really? No. Outfield, Springer's on the downside. They signed Santander. Varsho's injured. They don't have enough depth in the back. This team is not going to do well. Wagner's already up. Will Wagner, our newest Hall of Famer son, is up. And I think you're going to see Orelvis Martinez and Jake Bloss soon. They're going to need Jake Bloss big time. He was up last year. He's a starting pitcher. He's their number 6 rookie. He'll be up. There's just too many holes here.
I can see this team making some falling out of this early. Scott's got him winning 65 games. I'm going to have him in the 75 range myself.
Yeah.
But either way, they're going to be out of this race, and I can see them making multiple moves come this trade deadline. They didn't pull the trigger on Bichette or Guerrero last year. I think this year it could get pulled on both of them. Plus guys like Varsho, plus some of that rotation. Everybody on this team is going to be talked about come the trade deadline, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think you may get your wish on Snyder this year because this is it. By them holding on to Guerrero and Bichette, they're essentially saying we're all in this year, and then we're going to have to dismantle, which means,
Yeah, and Scott does talk a little. I missed this comment about the Rays. Kevin Cash, one of the best managers in baseball. I'm not happy with him. He's got rabbit ears, and I feel like he thinks he invented the game sometimes. But good manager. I can't say that he isn't, but he is. They are playing in a ballpark that they might have to win 12-day games for sure. They're playing in Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, so we'll see how that goes.
Actually, their previous field, their normal field, isn't a great hitter's park. So maybe this will help them. But then again, it helps everybody. So
just to recap quickly for AC, your Red Sox, we both picked to finish second. We'll talk about whether they make a wild card here when we get through with the American League.
All right, Central, your take.
The Central. I think the Indians take a step backwards in this year myself. I think last year they overperformed a little bit. Vogt had a great rookie year as a manager, made all the right moves. I think this team regresses this year and finishes third. I like the Tigers to win this division. just because of the acquisition of that tremendous base runner and fundamentally sound baseball player, Gleyber Torres. I'm being facetious, by the way. They'll win despite Gleyber Torres being in that lineup every day. Look at Gleyber can hit the baseball. That's what he's getting paid to do. And maybe he'll have a little bounce back getting out of the spotlight of New York. I think AJ will get the best out of him. Their front of the rotation is good. The back end of it, like a lot of other teams, is not so good. Scoble's probably the best pitcher in the league, if not baseball at the very moment. I like what the Tigers did last year, finished up the season strong, as hot as anybody, and kind of flamed out in the playoffs, but it was a big step forward for them. I like the Royals, who also made a big step forward last year. I like them to finish second. I think their core is good. They figured out a way to win with pitchers I didn't think they'd ever be able to figure out a way to win with, but we'll see if they can make that work. That's the only question mark with the Royals again. For me, is that starting rotation. And were those guys pitching way over their head last year, or is that going to be the new norm for them, at least for the current time? The Twins, I have stepping way back. I think Rocco Baldelli finally meets his fate here during this season. The fans turned on him early last year. They came back a bit. Again, a lot of guys there who just don't, they're always hurt. They always seem to be more potential than actual production. One guy I do love there is Pablo Lopez, but you're not going to win with one starting pitcher and a bunch of guys on offense who are either hurt or not meeting that potential. And then the White Sox are the White Sox. They're going to be better than 121 losses just because I say this in all seriousness, I think they can't possibly lose 122. But don't ever say never, right? And I did point out to Drew at the beginning, they are on a pace to win 162 games as we speak today.
So what's your order?
I have the Tigers, the Royals, the Indians, the Twins, and the White Sox.
Okay, we switched two teams there. All right, I agree with you on the Tigers. I disagree with you on the back end of their rotation.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Scott.
No, I saw it's coming. Yeah,
president of the Tories fan club here.
You've got Scooble, you got Flaherty. People underestimate Olsen and have for 2 seasons now.
That's a
very good pitcher.
Good call.
Very unknown pitcher, but his stuff is fabulous and his control is amazing. Casey Mize supposedly is both healthy and looking good for the first time in years. Whether it holds up is another matter.
Yeah, the key there is the health, because, again, ability is great. Availability is even better.
Yeah, people forget he was a top prospect.
Yeah.
And speaking of top prospects, they just brought up their number 1, rated number 5 in MLB, Jackson Jobe. He's actually slated 4th before Mize. That is not a bad back end of the rotation.
A lot of people like him, rookie of the year candidate.
Yep. His problem, if you actually look at his minor league numbers, his control's an issue, as it always is with the young ones. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if that holds him back. And they still have Cobb, who they signed in the offseason, and Urquidy, who they also signed in the offseason. So they have some backups for the staff. This is another one of those teams with a great relief staff that nobody's ever heard of. Holton, Chafin, Best. They signed Brebbia and Conley. They even have Maeda in the bullpen and as a backup for starters if they need it. Alex Lang's injured, but he'll be back. That's a good relief staff.
Yeah.
And people don't know any of them. Catching is a weak spot. Jake Rogers, infield, because they signed Torres. Keith moves to first base. Baez is still there at short, unfortunately, handcuffing them. They already have his replacement on board and up. Sweeney.
No, I would expect him to supplant him fairly early in the season myself.
I think he still has 2 more years on his contract.
Yeah, whatever. It's money.
They even tried him in the outfield because they had some injuries there. I'm like, yeah, not good.
He's going to strike out 160 times in the outfield too. So
yeah. But Sweeney's up. Torkelson is back up, even though he's been supplanted by Keith. Hit a home run yesterday. So he seems to have straightened a few things out, although you're never going to see a good batting average out of him. Their strength was the outfield, but now it's injured.
I love the two corner kids here, Green and Carpenter. I love both those guys on the corners.
Carpenter's problem is he is literally anemic against lefties. I mean, he hit 105 against lefties last year. That's not even close to Mendoza line. That's half the Mendoza line.
Right.
So he's been working on that in the spring. He's been trying to be a full-time player. We'll see if that takes. And, you know, obviously they've got Meadows and Veerling who've been hurt. Veerling, who was supposed to be their main third baseman. So they got a hole there right now. But it's a good team. It's a good fielding team. It's a good pitching team. I
think we only mentioned the bench in one of these 6 teams we've talked about so far, but every one of these teams has got a problem with the bench. I bet you every team in the major leagues as we go through this has got a very short bench.
You'd think with all the players out there that you'd be able to staff a good bench, but I don't get it.
Well, again, the teams are trying to stay within their own spending budgets, and there's so much money spent on the front end of your rotation and the middle of your lineup, and it's got to hurt. The bench is going to suffer.
I don't even get spending the money they're spending on rotation.
Yeah.
When you're only expecting 5 innings out of each one of them, why are you spending that much money?
Yeah.
I don't get it. And they're going to get injured anyway. But it's a good team. Nice balance between pitching and hitting. That's why I've got them first. Doesn't mean they don't have holes. You know.
Same here.
Royals, and this is going to be a trend. Good front, lousy back. Reagans, Lugo, Waka. I think they'll do fine. Lorenzen, Bubik will not. You know. So it's the back two, the 40%.
Is there any one of those top 3 guys that you think was way over his head last year? Reagans I like a lot. I still have my doubts about Lugo and Waka maintaining it over time.
I think they will only because of the type of pitchers they are. If they were power pitchers, I'd say no. But they're finesse pitchers, Lugo and Waka. And Lugo, people forget, he doesn't have a lot of mileage on him. Nope. He was always a reliever. So this is only what? He just completed his 2nd year as a full-time starter.
Yep.
You know, I think they're both legit. You may see a little step back from Waka, but they're back 40%. I'm worried about. This is another team with a good bullpen. They signed Estevez to be their closer. They still have Urseg if he falters. They signed Harvey from the Nationals, Schreiber from the Red Sox. That's a good core, and it's an established core. Catchers. Perez, Salvador Perez, and Fermin actually is a good backup. There's a backup. Good catching. Infield, Pasquantino.
Perez actually threw me out one time in high school when I was trying to steal. If I remember right, that's how old he is.
He's only 35, I think.
Is that it? Come on, is that it?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Pasquantino at first. We'll talk about him in a second. He was a pet of mine. I thought he was going to be this great thing. He's a good fielder. I don't think he's ever going to blossom. Maybe a 20-homer hitter if he stayed healthy all year. He's good. He's not great. They actually have a guy to replace him with. You got India. You got Michael Garcia on third, who's a speed merchant, not a homer person for third, which is weird. And, of course, they have someone who could have been an MVP in any other year with Witt at short.
Tremendous.
Is solid. That is a solid infield. And it feels great, too. Kansas City's always had a rep on fielding and stealing.
Indy's a nice fit on this team, I think, as far as helping improve it. He'll help them take that next step, maybe.
Yep. And interestingly, they don't really have him for second so much. They actually have him playing third and outfield, which is interesting. The issue with this team, why they're not winning it, is their outfield sucks. Melendez, Isbell, Renfroe, Conha, they just traded for. It's decent fielders. No, this is their weak spot. and they don't have anyone to back them up.
Yeah, and this is a place that they're going to need an upgrade at the All-Star break to really be able to compete with the big boys in this league.
Yep. And as far as rookies go, their number 1, number 22 in Major League Baseball is Jack Caglione. He's a first baseman. If Pasquantino, now Pasquantino had a great first game, yay. But if he falters, this guy, everyone's saying he's due up in 26. I think you're going to see him this year. That's who I think. But if there's any regression from the starters, they're in trouble.
Hey, Rick's talking about Perez played with Jack.
Yep. Twins. Lopez had a great second half. He actually got some things ironed out, really understood what he was trying to do as a pitcher, and really had a great second half. Ober gives up a ton of home runs. That's his issue. So does Ryan. They both have control. They both have great stuff. If they could stop grooving it all the time, they would be fabulous pitchers. But again, back end, Paddock, Woods, Richardson, no. It's not going to be good. Relief, Duran, Jack, Sands, Colum, Topa. Another one of those relief staffs that nobody knows who they are, but great relief staff. Catcher, Jeffers, Vasquez know how to work with pitchers. Both veterans, both are good, both can hit, Jeffers in particular. Infield, they're banking on a resurgence from Ty France. We'll see how that goes.
The resurgence isn't that far to go, by the way.
Yeah, they got Willie Castro filling in at second. They got Miranda filling in at third. They still are stuck with Correa, who, if you look at his numbers, was fabulous. But again, he missed a third of the season. Their big guy, they now have Buxton 2 in Royce Lewis. Always injured, tons of potential.
Listen, it's just day 2 of the season. Buxton is not on the DL.
Yes, but Lewis is. So, as soon as Lewis is ready, Buxton will get injured. So, you can only live so long on potential, and losing that. And their big rookie from last year, Lee, is also injured. So now their infield all of a sudden, which was one of the deepest, is now one of the shallowest. Outfield, Buxton when he plays, that's nice. Doesn't steal anymore. And Larnach and Wallner, no, and neither of them can hit lefties. They signed Bader, great fielder, hit a home run. He looked good for a day. Usually doesn't hit well. It's too many weak spots.
They're going to have trouble scoring runs, and there's.
Yeah, they got a rookie. Their number 2, Emmanuel Rodriguez, who I think they're going to need in the outfield because I just told you their outfield isn't great.
Yep.
And another rookie. The number 3 rookie in baseball, supposedly, in prospect, is Walker Jenkins. So there's 2 outfielders that if they're ready to bring him up, this is not a team that's known for rushing their rookies. So we'll have to see. But otherwise, it's just too many holes and a lack of depth in a lot of places that I think dooms them. I have Guardians 4th. You had them 3rd.
I had the Indians 3rd, but that's sorry.
Yeah, that's what I said. I have them 4th.
That was for Scott Kobe. Told me to put $1 in the jar.
Yeah, I saw that. Bibby, they traded for Ortiz from the Pirates. Gavin Williams may have a nice year. Lively filled in well yesterday. Still have Logan Allen, and Bieber's supposed to come back mid-season. So decent. And Class A, Gaddis, Cade Smith. They brought in Sewell. They still have Heron. Another one of those bullpens. This whole division is stacked with those unknowns in their bullpens that have great bullpens.
Yeah.
Catcher Hedges.
Having that bullpen, by the way, real quick, sorry, is so important because there's no more volatile position in baseball than closer. So you got to have somebody to step in.
They have a number that could be closers on any other team.
Yeah.
Hedges, great handler of pitchers, great defensive, can't hit for beans. Bo Naylor, who doesn't do the things Hedges does and still hasn't hit for beans. So that could be a weak spot. They signed Carlos Santana for his guitar at first base.
Yes, very nice.
Still have Ramirez, but, at that point, they're hurting. Kyle Manzardo had a hell of a game yesterday, and I've actually mentioned him in the past. They got him in a trade with the Rays when they got Eflin, I think. It looks like he might finally be healthy. Tristan McKenzie he's another one of those potentials, but his control, and he gets injured a lot. So it's an issue. Could he come back? Could he be worth something? Yeah, but he's not in the rotation now. Who knows on that one? So their infield has two major spots that are weak. Their outfield still cannot hit. They traded to get Nolan Jones back, who they let go to Colorado. They got him back for one of their infielders, ironically. So now they have a bigger hole there.
And another, Thomas is a journeyman too. I mean, this is not a very good looking. And Stephen Kwan's a nice player, but very little pop. This team's going to have trouble scoring runs too. I feel bad. We talk about a lot of guys who we feel bad for. Jose Ramirez is one of the best players in the game, has been one of the best players in the game. And his ceiling may have been hit personally and team-wise already. And I'd love to see him get it. If he wants to play in New York, we can probably find room for him.
Every team would want him.
Just saying.
Yeah, they got nothing. You know, John Kenzie, Noel, they call him Big Christmas. Lots of power. Hasn't seen a pitch he wouldn't swing at. Rookies, everyone's talking about the second baseman, Travis Bazzano, who they drafted last year. Number 10 in the majors prospect. I don't see them bringing him up. I think you're going to see their number 2 prospect, 36 in Major League Baseball, Chase DeLauder. He's an outfielder. They're going to need help. And the White Sox. You know, here's where we can save some time. I can go through the names.
119 losses.
Of their starters. You know, they just started their opening day starter was a rookie. Sean Burke, their number 13 rookie. I could give you the names of the rest. I could give you the names of everyone in their bullpen. You would not recognize any of them. I don't recognize him.
I know Martin Perez, we know.
Yes.
And
acquisition.
And Clevenger and Boozer. I don't know any other than those 3 guys.
Right, exactly. So there's not much to talk there. They've got 2 catchers. They're using Corey Lee and Matt Thace, who they picked up, who was traded like 3 times over the offseason. Journeyman. They're both going to be replaced. They've got 2 rookies, 2 highly classified rookies coming up. One from the Crochet trade. And you know, I could talk about Vaughn, the rest of their infield stinks. You could talk about their outfield with Robert and Benintendi and Talkman, who they picked up over the offseason. That's their outfield.
That's how bad he gets. I mean, Talkman and Benintendi at the corners, that's not very good.
Right. If you spend any time, Austin Slater and Michael Taylor. So they picked up some more guys, you know. Are they names you know? Yes. Are they names you play? No.
No.
Everything here is rookies. And the question is, how quickly do they want to bring them up? You know, they've already brought up Sean Burke. They've got their number 8, Chase Meadroth, who was going to make the team, and then they sent him back down. Kyle Teal is one of their catchers. They've got the 2 best left-handed prospects in the majors in Noah Schultz and Hagen Smith. I think you'll see Schultz this year. And a shortstop, Colson Montgomery, who they keep wavering on. I think you're going to see a bunch of these guys this year, and it'll be interesting to see how they do.
I think shooting for less than 105 losses would be optimistic for this team, quite frankly.
Yeah, probably.
So we're the same there, except till we get to the bottom. You got the Twins.
So far, we're the same in most of these. We switch 2 teams. Yeah. Usually.
I'm sure we'll have a difference here. AL West. I think Seattle finds a way to score enough runs. J-Rod has an MVP type season, which is a must. I think some other guys like Polanco bounce back. I'm trying to think of the shortstop now. What the hell's his name? Crawford, thank you. I think he steps up a little bit. They have to. They have to find score runs because while they got a couple injuries, I've talked about this forever. This team has some very, very good starting pitchers, and I like the back end of their bullpen. If they can score enough runs, this team I think will win this division. Houston, I think will still finish second. I think there'll probably be a bit of a dogfight at least until maybe into September. Nobody's going to win. Maybe no 90-win team here in this division, quite frankly, because I think Houston will stay close. They're not nearly as good without Bregman. Altuve's playing his left field. He's out of position. There's a lot of moving parts here for the Astros and the pitching staff is not nearly as good. There's some good pitchers, obviously, at the front of that rotation. You got some guys that could come back from injuries or poor performances maybe and step up a little bit. I think Hunter Brown might be a guy that takes a step forward in that rotation. So I think they keep it close. The Texas, and again, we'll dive in all these deeper as you go through it, but the Texas Rangers, again, Bruce Bochy's the best thing they got going for him. And I don't think his magic is going to work with his team because I think the guys who flamed out last year, they're going to have to count on coming back either from injury or from poor performance or both. I don't know if I can expect Langford and Carter to be what they thought they were going to be last year or even close to it. Garcia's taken as big a drop as any guy in the major leagues. The staff, again, you're counting on DeGrom to stay healthy for more than 10 games and carry that staff. And you've already got injuries to Gray. And Nathan Eovaldi is the most consistent pitcher on the staff, and he's pitched well the last 2 years, but you need better than that. The A's playing in Sacramento. I think the A's will be more competitive. I like some of their players. We like Lawrence Butler. I know you like Lawrence Butler as well. All in all, they don't have the horses to compete. All I can say is they'll be better than the Angels, who just don't seem to have any plan at all other than trying to find a way to keep Mike Trout healthy. And then what else? I mean, Rendon is never going to play again. He doesn't want to play. He hates the game. They keep bringing in guys who are washed up other places. They keep trading with the Braves. I mean, maybe they start getting some of the Braves good players. They'll actually do better, but they don't. And I think it sucks for a guy like Ron Washington, who's a good lifer in baseball, to be stuck with this type of team. And he's never going to get another chance after this. And he's going to be saddled. This team's going to finish last. They might challenge the White Sox for the most losses in the league, the Angels.
It's possible. They upgraded, but, that's a relative term.
Well, yeah, yeah. Right.
All right, so we differ. With more than usual here. I actually still have the Astros eking it out, barely. I don't have a wild card team from this division. I don't think there's anybody. I agree with you on the 80s and for victories. It's not a strong division anymore, and a lot of it is just holes and injuries and no depth. I've got actually the Astros winning. I still think they've got enough. If their starters come back, right now they're still missing McCullers, who's May, Javier, who's August, and nobody knows when Luis Garcia is coming back. They still got Valdez, they still got Brown, they still got Blanco. And I'm going to tell you, keep an eye on Wisniewski. They got him in the trade with the Cubs. They never knew what to do with him. He's been up, he's been down. They were going to stick him in the bullpen. He's in the starting rotation now. Keep an eye on him. He makes sense.
I like that too. I like Cam Smith out of that trade as well. I think the Cubs are going to regret that move as well.
Haven't gotten to him yet, but
yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to steal your thunder, but
no, it's a legit statement. Relief. I'm worried. They used to be known for a good relief staff. They've got Hader, they got Abreu, and then I've got Preola. This is not a strength for them anymore. And if their starters falter, this is going to be what sinks them. Catchers, Diaz and Caratini, fabulous tandem. Know what to do with pitchers. Diaz can hit. That's a strength. Walker, as long as he stays healthy, Christian Walker, who they signed.
That's a big upgrade over what they dealt with Abreu last year and whoever tried to replace him.
Yep, huge upgrade. Part of the reason, to get to Scott's point, is they wanted Dubon in second base. He's hit well. He's a great fielder. They have a hole in the outfield right now, which is why they moved Altuve. Yeah, we talked about Sean Burke.
We did. That was a comment about him being a goaltender.
They're banking on Paredes having a rebound at third base. I think it's possible, although he's always played a little over his head. And Pena is a good shortstop. He's not a great hitter. He's a good shortstop. Not a lot backing him up, though. Again, no depth. Here we go again with the bench. Outfield, Altuve, Myers, McCormick. They're fast. Assuming Altuve can adapt, they're going to cover a ton of ground. They use Alvarez and their infielders as backups. It's an uneven group. You never know with Myers and McCormick what you're going to get. Good potential, don't always come out. Cam Smith, who they are working in as an outfielder now, actually a third baseman, but they have Paredes there, so they don't need him. Cam Smith is going to be very good. And he has had one of the absolute shortest minor league careers to then make it into the majors. He was down there for, I forget, it was someone got 32 games or something like that. Great potential. I think he's going to actually adapt well. And yeah, the Cubs are going to miss him. But the Cubs had Shaw, so they already had a backlog.
Right.
We'll get to that. But they couldn't keep both, so they gave him a good one. The only Cam Smith is already up, so he's their number one, 58th in baseball. Their number 3 is Jacob Melton. He's an outfielder. I think they're going to need him. I don't think he's going to be great necessarily, but I think they'll need him. I think they're going to be good enough, but they're relying a lot on bounce backs, so it's a little scary.
A lot of teams are. I like the acquisition of Rogers at second base, actually, but I'm not crazy about Altuve being moved to left field, just because of defense out there. And he had a horrendous spring. He's a good enough player to adapt, I think, sufficiently, but I still think it's a bad move overall. I like Pena. I think Pena steps it up this year. He's in age 27, which is a good spot for guys to, if they're gonna gel. That's when they tend to do it. Cam Smith, you mentioned, I like a lot. I think Walker's a huge upgrade. It does come down to, and by the way, I like Dubon a little bit too off that bench. This is one of the guys off a bench I like quite a bit because he can play quite a few positions, and I think he's got a little pop in his bat. And we'll see if it comes through or not.
Yeah, I think you're going to end up seeing Altuve back at second because they need Dubon as their utility guy.
That's entirely.
And then they're going to put Cam Smith in left, is I think what's going to happen. I've got the Rangers second. I believe DeGrom's going to give you more than 10 games. Uvalde's look good.
I should be from Missouri because you got to show me.
Right. Gray is injured. Bradford is injured. They signed Patrick Corbin. I won't even go there. That's a bad sign.
Public service announcement. Again, I say this all the time. Just when you have a kid, I'm sorry, a boy. I don't mean to be. I don't mean to be sexist. Tape his right arm to his side and let him throw left-handed because he can pitch forever and he doesn't need to be any good.
And he's not been any good. The issue with these guys is they're relying a lot on both Leiter and Rocker. Their Rocker is their number 2. Leiter's their Leiter's their number 3 prospect. They both walk a ton. They both throw hard, which means they're probably an injury waiting to happen. We'll see. It's relying on 2 rookies for 40% of your rotation is
agree 100%. I do like Rocker myself, and I think he'll have a breakout year here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it because he still has no control. Doesn't know where it's going. The relief staff is a mess. Martin, Webb, Milton, they literally rebuilt it. Every one of their top 5 relievers was not on the team last year.
Mm-hmm.
Armstrong, Garcia, Milner, Webb, Martin. Nobody knows who the closer is, which is probably just as well. It's not good. Could they be good like they hit pay dirt with Yates and Robertson? Maybe. Do I expect it? No. And again, if your starting staff isn't solid, we got a problem. Catchers, Heim, Higashioka, he hits well sometimes. Great handler. I don't think their hitting's going to be there for catching. Infield, Berger, Semien, Jung, and Sager. Pretty good. But again, you don't know who's going to be healthy. You don't know if they're going to be. Semien's definitely on the way down, which is unfortunate because the guy works his butt off.
He's on the way down. Sager's hurt too much. And Berger is he'll hit some
He is
dingers.
what he is.
He'll hit some dingers.
He's going to hit 250. He's going to hit 30 home runs. You know,
I
3-2
think
outcome.
they should be very happy with 250 and 30 home runs out of him, quite frankly.
Yeah. It's better than Nate Lowe that they had. So yeah, Josh Smith and Duran back up. So they got good backups in the infield. So that's nice. Langford, Tavares, and Adalis Garcia. Who knows? I actually think Langford's going to be excellent. I think he got his taste. He actually, if you look at his splits, his second half was very good. Once he was healthy. I think he's going to do it. Tavares and Garcia, I do not. And I don't see much of backups. They use their infielders to back up their outfielders. So there's your bench issue yet again. Pitching suspect injuries, I think, are going to derail them fast.
I don't see Jack Peterson. I don't see Jack Peterson actually being a huge help at that DH slot either.
Actually, he's much better than people give him credit for. His issue is he's got to be platooned. They usually don't hit him against lefties. This is one of these days I'm going to go on my rave show, and this is going to be my rave. He's actually worked on his ability to hit lefties, and nobody still lets him do it. So we don't know. But he does knock righties really well, and if that's what you needed to fill a hole, then he's a good addition. You know, is he going to win you a championship? No, but he's a good bench player. Seattle, you know, Kirby's injured and they're still loaded. I mean, what the hell? You know, Gilbert, Castillo, Bryce Smith, Wu, Hancock, Emerson Hancock, who was a big prospect. He's sort of lost some luster, but he's filling in right now for Kirby. Still great. Still great. I mean, what are you going to do? Relief staff is not what it used to be. This was one of those like the Twins and the Royals and all these other guys, names you never heard of that were good relievers. Back end is good, Munoz and Santos.
Yeah.
But then they use Spire, Saucedo. They're going to get some big support back in May when Brash comes back from his injury. Look for Matt Brash. Guy's got electric stuff. So when he comes back, he's going to be excellent. Catchers, Raleigh, Garver. They're all power. They don't hit. Raleigh actually handles pitchers well. Infield, Ray, and then you got the problems. You know, here we go. Another Cleveland.
We got Rowdy Tellez, though, at first base. So this team is, I think, destined for futility on offense. That's why the pitchers are going to have to carry him to the division title.
They got him more as a backup. They're actually playing Luke Raley. They're going to platoon them, is what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Raley's okay as long as you don't let him face a lefty. Polanco's looking to be healthy again. He had a good first game. Once he gets injured, he's going to suck again, unfortunately. He was great for the Twins, but injuries have really sapped him. I'd like to see him come back. I don't think he will. They signed Solano, everyone's favorite backup. It's not great.
No, another bench that's a serious situation.
Yep. Outfield, the Rosarina, who I believe is on the downside at this point. Robles, who I think that was a work of fiction, what you saw last year. He's not going to hit 300 again. The guy swings at everything and still does. That's why the Nationals let him go. So I don't think he's going to be anything that people think he is, and they signed him to a long-term contract. J-Rod is what they're banking on. I'm going to be honest with you. I think his rookie year was the aberration. He's got the tools. I just don't think he's making the adjustments. And again, everyone forgets how young this kid is.
He's still 20. I was going to say, he's still only 24 years old.
So can he make them? Of course he can make them. Do I think this is going to be the year? I do not. Which I think is what dooms them. I call them the Sacramento A's. Now, obviously, Major League Baseball has a problem. They're not giving them a city. They keep calling them just the Athletics. You won't find Sacramento anywhere near their name. But that's where they're playing. And anyone will tell you getting out of the Coliseum is the best thing that could happen to these guys. It was a terrible ballpark. They signed Severino. That was their big ticket, and I mean big ticket item for Oakland. That's a big ticket item. Yay. They traded for Springs. That might be a good deal. They got Springs from the Rays. That might pay dividends. It's still a lousy staff. Yeah, it's still a lousy staff. Relief, Mason Miller, Leclerc, who bombed out in Texas, and then you pray a lot. Not a good relief staff. Langoliers and Pareda, not great catching. Langoliers can actually hit the power, but he's not going to hit for average. He's not a great worker with
He's going to hit about 210.
Yeah. Soderstrom has been their top rookie for a while. They're playing him at first. He had a good game yesterday, but he's had trouble with Major League pitching. He's been a quad 4 player for a long time now. Geloff is injured. Unfortunately, he's probably the best player they got on the infield.
Nice player. Yep.
They're using Urshela at third. I mean, come on, And Jacob Wilson, who's their number 1 prospect, is not a power hitter. He's a good shortstop.
Don't forget they cloned Max Muncy as well, and they added him to their bench.
Yeah, Max Muncy, their number 7 prospect, is up. Actually has the same birthday as the other Max Muncy. That's about where it ends. The strength here is their outfield. This outfield is a solid outfield.
Very underrated for sure, by the way.
Lawrence Butler, who second half showed what he could do between his speed, his fielding, and his hitting and his power. Rooker, we know he's the backup for the outfield, and he looks good. J.J. Bleday, who was a huge prospect for the Marlins, I believe, let him go. He seems to have finally figured it out, so he's going to be a good league average, maybe slightly above. Right now they're playing Andujar, another one of your Yankee cast-offs, in the outfield. They got Brown as their backup, who has some power. That's their strength.
I like Andujar to maybe he's another guy. He's got to stay healthy. The guy has not shown the ability to stay healthy since his breakout year in 2018. That year, he was a doubles machine and hit home runs, played good defense, a little bit of a knucklehead now and again on defense, but he was playing third base then. He can manage to stay healthy in this Oakland under the radar environment. Yeah. You might see a decent season out of Miguel Andujar. He's still only 30 years old.
He might. He's not up to what the other guys are, but
no. But he's a guy to watch under the radar here to have a decent year.
And rookies wise, with Wilson up, is going to be Nick Kurtz. He's a first baseman. I'm curious to see how Soderstrom does. If he actually pulls off finally being more than a quad A, then he will be fine, and they may leave Kurtz down. Kurtz, if he's shown potential, he'll come up if Soderstrom falters, and he's going to be good. And what do we do with the Angels?
We are contractually obligated to talk about the Angels.
As we were with the White Sox. The difference, however, is the White Sox have a lot of exciting rookies they can bring up.
Yeah.
This team has been gutted for probably close to a decade at this point. They made trades to try to keep Ohtani in L.A. It didn't pan out. They got rid of anyone who was good in their farm system, sent them to the White Sox. This is not pretty. Kikuchi, Ty Anderson, Soriano, Kyle Hendricks, Detmers. They got Ian Anderson from the Braves. yay, they're going to stick him in the bullpen because he's one of those guys that walks everybody. This isn't scaring anyone. Kenley Jansen is their closer, and everyone talks about how old he is and how washed up he is. He's still decent. His numbers were not bad. He's not a below 3 ERA, but he's not a bad closer still. And if they wanted to, they still have Joyce, who throws 100 miles an hour and probably get injured soon. After that, nobody. Catchers, Ohop, and they traded for Darno. Good handler, past his prime. Infield is Shanuel at first base, has no power. Rengifo, who's injured. Moncada, really? From the White Sox? Oh, my God. Kevin Newman is now at short because the best player they got on the team, Nito, is injured.
I like Nito a lot. Nito and even healthy Nito and Trout are going to be lost in this team full of AAAers and over the hill players.
Yep. Ward, Adele, another number one who's never proved out. Soler they got in the offseason for some power to back up. It's not good. I think they're going to bring up Christian Moore as their rookie, their number one, number 67 in baseball. And I think they're going to need their number two as a starting pitcher, who's Caden Dana. I think you're going to see him come up. But this team is going nowhere.
All right. Our division winners. I have Baltimore, the Tigers, and Seattle. You have Baltimore, Royals, and Astros.
Well, Tigers. I have Royals second.
Sorry, I read the wrong line. Sorry.
Yep, no problem.
Tigers and Astros.
Yep.
My wild cards are Boston, Houston, and the Royals.
Mine are the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Royals.
Red Sox. You got the Yankees in the playoffs.
I do.
I debated all day today. It was right until showtime. I did not have them in or out, and I finally put in the Royals and took out the.
Mainly because I don't have anybody from the West. So.
Who's your third one? I'm sorry, Yankees and.
I've got the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Royals.
Royals, okay.
And you had who was yours?
I got the Boston, Houston, and the Royals. So we all got the same teams in the playoffs, except you've got. Wait a minute. How come we all the same teams? Maybe we. Oh, I got Seattle.
I have the Yankees as a wild card. You have the Astros.
Yeah, and I got Seattle winning.
Yes.
I have Baltimore winning the American League Championship as well, as I did last year.
I didn't know we were going to do that. Let me look at that. I have.
But we can leave it if you want to wait till after the.
Who did I have? Oh, I never wrote it down. Really? Well, I have Baltimore winning the AL.
So we're pretty close on our predictions throughout the American League, and with that, we'll move to the.
That's a bad sign, by the way.
Yeah, right. Now we'll move to the senior circuit, where I think there's more good teams. Myself, I don't know.
Less old teams. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. Good point. I mean, you got the Dodgers would seem to be head and shoulders over everybody, but they're gonna, the Braves are going to be good in the East. The East is still going to be tough. The Braves just they find a way to plug in holes and next man up, and they get guys like Strider out, and I think Strider, despite missing most or all of April, I think will have a tremendous year this year and help this team. I think they've got enough pitching. I think their lineup, even if Acuna isn't Acuna from 2 years ago, is still a potent offensive force. I like the Braves to win this division. The Phillies, I like Wheeler. I think Wheeler's going to have a really big season. Not sure what to expect out of Nola and the rest of that rotation. I think they're going to struggle. I think they're going to score some runs, but they're going to strike out a whole lot. They're going to score some runs. You're going to see the same Phillies team basically you've seen the last couple of years in my mind. And I think they'll finish second ahead of the remade Mets and the one of the newest big paid guys in baseball in Soto. I think the Mets still have too many issues in the rotation. You're counting on a lot from. I'm not crazy about the bullpen either. I don't know about. Let's see. I said second base. I think Vientos is the real deal, so I think they're going to be okay there. I really like Lindor. I think he'll be an MVP candidate again. I don't think he'll win, but I think he'll be an MVP candidate again. And I think this team will make the playoffs in the third out of the third spot in the NL East. The Nationals, while they're slowly making progress, and some of their prospects are starting to come of age, and I expect a few more to come of age this year. They're not ready to compete with the other three teams in this division. And the Marlins are the Marlins. Still, they'll throw some good pitchers out there. I think Alcantara will have a good bounce back season. Cabrera, I think, will have a good season if they let him pitch enough innings. It's always, I don't know what they're protecting these kids for, because, they flame out so soon. But I think it's maybe the worst run organization in baseball, maybe outside of the Angels and the Rockies. So I guess there's a race for that mantle as well. So I like the Braves, Phillies, Mets, Nationals, and Marlins here, and we can dig in deeper as we go here.
Okay, well, we match identically.
Oh, interesting.
I mean,
this is scary for Major League Baseball.
It is. With 5 teams as opposed to 4 in football,
Right.
I mean, Sale, Lopez, Schwellenbach. There's a name you guys better know, is Schwellenbach.
Absolutely. Great one.
Grant Holmes, Smith Shawver is actually their number 3 prospect. He's going to fill it out until Strider comes back in May. I mean, to have that kind of depth, and they still got Thurston Waldrep in the minors, their number 4 prospect. They're still loaded with starting pitchers, not going anywhere. One of the best staffs in baseball. Another one of those relief staffs, Iglesias, everyone knows, but Pierce Johnson, Dylan Lee, Bummer. These are good arms. And they re-signed Neris and Kimbrel. They picked up Neris. They re-signed Kimbrel and bought him back for one last hurrah. Maybe they can get something out of him. But the top 4 guys are good. That's a good relief.
Yeah. Just to go back for a second to the rotation and Strider, he's going to miss it the first month, most likely, as we know. Missing the first month, I'll tell you right now, he's going to be in the top 5 in the Cy Young and maybe better.
He was
missing
lights
him
out. He was lights out.
Yep.
I think one of the few people that'll give him a challenge is Schwellenbach. He's going to be good. Infield. The problem with the Braves, everyone forgets how much their guys were injured or just had slumps. It's the best infield in baseball.
Yep.
Hands down. If they're all healthy and doing what they can, Olsen, Albies, Riley, Arcia, it's the best there is. Their issue, again, here we go, no bench. There's really nothing to back them up if something happens, but that's still a hell of an infield.
This is a team bench-wise who has been very adroit at getting players for that bench and for platoon positions during a season at the trade deadline. They've been very good at that the last 2 or 3 years. So
yep.
This is a team you can count on not being nearly the finished product that you'll see in October.
Definitely. Outfield, they signed Profar. 31 years old. He has a career year. I'm a little worried. He's always had the potential, but he's never demonstrated it. Whether this is the new normal, I don't know. I'd like it to be. Don't know. Harris, we're still waiting for him to come back from his injury well, and still has very bad command of the strike zone. Swings at everything. If he can tolerate that, he'd be good. Right now, they're, of course, relying on Kalenic and Dela Cruz, who they picked up in the offseason, to replace Acuna until May. So the outfield's not their their strongest point right now.
No, but Dela Cruz and Kelenic, I think, are good players in short spurts, but you can't play them every day, right? So bench-wise, that's not too bad in the outfield. I don't like their bench in the infield, as you mentioned, at all, but hopefully they don't need them. But in the outfield, they always find some outfielders, as I mentioned earlier, too. So they got to survive.
Need to, Osuna can back up, although they prefer him not to for obvious reasons. Smith-Shawver, I already mentioned, is up. Their number one is up. 62 in the Major League rankings is Drake Baldwin, their backup catcher, who's taking over for Murphy until he comes back at the end of May. We'll see how he does. Their catching right now is a weak spot because we don't know how Baldwin's going to be, and Chadwick Trump, a world-class backup for a number of teams, is their number two. So that's not good catching. Otherwise, everything else is fine.
Yeah, Murphy
They
had
have
a
bounce backs. They're going to be great.
Murphy had a bad year last year. I like his bat. I don't know about defensively, but I like his bat in the lineup. But
He's okay.
last year he was not good offensively, and he's got to come back from that.
It's just like Olsen. Both of them tanked.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Phillies. I actually love their staff. I do not love Nola. I haven't loved Nola in years. He's on the downside. Wheeler, he's in his mid-30s, and the guy's still throwing like he's better than ever. Sanchez. Christopher Sanchez is someone everybody should know. He's one of those no-name players that goes out, does his job, and does it well. Nobody ever hears him. Right now, they're using Walker, everybody's favorite, Tijuana Walker, because Suarez is hurt. Suarez isn't great anyway, so that whatever. And don't forget they traded for Luzardo.
I like Luzardo, actually.
If they could tame him, if someone could tame this kid, he would be a Cy Young candidate. But they can't tame him. He never knows where the ball's going, and he's too roller coasterish. Relief staff is good. If Romano bounces back, Romano from Toronto as a closer, still have Strom, still have Alvarado, still have Kirkering, who probably should be their closer. It's an impressive relief staff, which helps. Realmuto still a catcher. Harper, Stott, Bohm, Trey Turner. Yeah, they could be getting near their downside soon, but that's still a tight infield. Outfield, their big addition was Kepler from the Twins. Much better fielder than they've had. This allows them to stick Schwarber only as DH.
Very nice.
Get him out of the field, thank God. Still have Marsh, who's a good fielder, in center. Still, unfortunately, have Castellanos, who doesn't hit like they thought he would. And I'm not sure they shouldn't be playing Schwarber instead of Castellanos. They're both terrible. It's not good. And their backups can't hit. Great fielders can't hit.
Marsh makes up for a lot of deficiencies on the corners because he covers a lot of ground in center field. He's as you mentioned, he's a really good defensive player. Still up and down on offense, but I like him a lot in that outfield. And Kepler, as you said, very under the radar pickup to make this team better.
Yeah, both Kepler and Marsh have the same issue. They don't hit lefties, so that's a problem.
And you're going to get a full season, most like Trey Turner, because he's not going to, lose 2 months of his season not producing. He's going to get out of the gate a lot better, I'm sure. Yep. Which is going to help this team. I was a little confused. It seemed like they spent a lot of the offseason trying to move on from Alec Baum, who has had 2 pretty good back-to-back seasons, I think, in the middle of that lineup, and has hit a lot more than I thought he would. And I was a little surprised they spent time trying to move on from him.
They did, but they didn't have anything to replace him, so they didn't pull the trigger.
No.
They do have their best 2 prospects are pitchers. If this staff is what I think it is, they're not going to need him. Painter, obviously, we've been talking about for years until he was injured. McAble, we'll see if they come up. Mets, these guys are the reverse. It's their pitching that's going to do them. You're relying on a comeback from Senga. We don't know how he's going to be. We've converted Clay Holmes into a starter. So far, he's looked decent. Is he going to run out of gas? Probably, because he hasn't pitched that many innings. They're using Peterson. They're using Griffin Canning, who was on like 3 different teams this offseason. Tyler McGill, as opposed to Trevor, his brother. They're holding the fort down for Minaya, who was good, but that was probably a career year, and Montas, who was never really good. Thanks, Rick. No, I actually don't have MLB Network. I may. I don't know. I never look at it. Anyway, relief staff is, again, well, they put it all into Soto, but all this money, and they can't get a pitching staff and they can't get a relief staff. The relief staff is pieced together with journeymen.
I like Minter when he's healthy, but again, that's a big if as well. Edwin Diaz has been a career roller coaster. You never know what you're going to get out of him. That staff, as you mentioned, you're also counting on Manaea being able to repeat what he did last year, which I think is a huge if. And Frankie Montas has already shown he can't pitch in New York or maybe anywhere outside of Oakland. And he's hurt already.
He couldn't pitch in Milwaukee either. So
he couldn't even get to the ballpark without getting hurt this spring. So this team is going to have to score a lot of runs.
And they re-signed Ryan Stanek, yay, for their bullpen. It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah.
The catcher right now, they've lost Alvarez until May. So that was a huge loss. They're back using Torrens, who's a good fielding catcher, can't hit, and some unranked rookie, Sanger, who worked in a retail store for a while. Catching's not. They'll handle the pitchers. Torrens is good with the pitchers. They're not going to get any offense whatsoever. Infield, they re-signed Alonso. That was a whole escapade. They've got Vientos, at third, Lindor short. Second base is a hole right now because McNeil's injured. They're using one of the big rookies they got when they dumped Verlander and Scherzer 2 years ago.
The baby Acuna.
Yeah, Luis Angel Acuna. Was a lot of potential when they traded for him. Hasn't proved it out so far since they got him.
A lot of talent, a lot of potential, very raw. He's still 23 years old. He's a guy who gets in. If he can play for a while in a lineup and he gets himself established, you may not even see Jeff McNeil come back. That's a big if, but because I'm not sold on Brett Beatty there either. It's too bad. He's got a great baseball name. But this guy's never going to hit enough, I don't think, to be a.
I am actually thrilled to see Beatty finally have a good spring.
Yeah.
Another quad A player that they, fields really well, better than Vientos.
Yes, definitely.
And they're trying him at second, along with Louis Angel. But if he's legit, if he finally figured it out, because he was great in the minors. He was great in the minors, better than Vientos.
Yeah.
If he actually has figured it out, keep an eye on. If he hasn't, then he backslides, then forget about it. But
well, as the lefty side of that platoon until McNeil comes back, he should get the bulk of the at-bats too. So
we'll know soon enough. Outfield is not good for 2/3 of it. Nimmo, he's a work a day outfielder. He's not going to win you anything. He's not going to lose you anything, especially now that he's not playing center. That's good. Tyrone Taylor, really. Winker is a backup. Siri, who they picked up in a trade over the offseason. I mean, decent fielders, not great hitters. If they didn't have Soto, this would be a real pit.
Well, Soto doesn't. He's a pit in the outfield.
Well, fielding wise, which is why they have Siri.
I've already seen enough lowlights of him in the spring playing defense to remember why I didn't like him in right field with the Yankees.
Yep. So they have some. What the hell? So they got major holes there, and yet still they're better than the Nationals, which is why they're in third. But
yeah,
it's not good. Nationals, Gore just struck out 13 players and. What was it, 6 innings? So he looks good, but he walks everybody. Irvin, they've got some pitchers that could surprise you. Irvin pitched well last year, actually. Trevor Williams pitched well last year. Much people don't know. Parker was decent for a stretch. They might turn out better than you think. The bullpen is a huge hole. They actually brought back Finnegan, who I thought was worse than You know, the guy that was his setup guy last year.
Yeah.
You know, Law, okay, Sims. It's not a good bullpen. This is a huge hole that's going to cost them games. Ruiz and Adams are good hitting catchers. It's a nice tandem.
Yep.
Traded for Nathaniel Lowe for first base. Luis Garcia is a good player.
Very good.
Steals, hits for homers, still incredibly young, fields well, great acquisition. They're relying on DeJong at third base for a comeback. Not going to see it.
No.
And Abrams has all of Garcia's potential, but is a head case. You know, they had to send him down to the minors in August last year because he stayed out late gambling and didn't make the team bus. And, you know, he hasn't looked good. He's got all the same potential, but it's not great.
Young guy, 24 years old. Sometimes it takes guys a little longer to mature. I love his potential, though.
Oh, he's got the same potential Garcia is. The difference is Garcia's serious about it, and he's not. They signed Ahmed Rosario as their backup. That tells you something right there.
Yeah.
It's the outfield. Let's talk about the outfield. When you've got James Wood and Dylan Cruz, both young. Cruz is still a rookie, by the way.
Yep.
Wood is not. Number 4 in baseball. And they got Jacob Young, who's a speedster, but he doesn't hit for much. So 2/3 of the outfield is going to be excellent. That's their strength right now. Again, their pitching sucks, and it's going to be a weak spot, and that's what dooms them.
They score enough runs, this team could push 500, I think. And they're making small little incremental jumps each year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think maybe they're building this the right way. It's going to come down to kids like CJ Abrams. Again, if he doesn't mature and he doesn't turn out to what they want to be, that's going to set you back too. So
correct, because they don't have a lot on the farm to back them up.
Right.
Marlins, Alcantara's back, looks really healthy. Everyone, and again, if you know anything about Tommy John surgery, after you've gone through it, you're better in your second and third years. This is his first year, and he's looked good. So this could be nice. Max Meyer, another oft-injured. Ed Cabrera, who's
I love Cabrera. Can't stay healthy, or they're putting him in the minors, one or the other.
Can't stay healthy and still doesn't know where the plate is. Always walks a ton. Great stuff. Weathers, Garrett, and Perez are all still injured. So all these guys with potential, all on the IL. And they signed Quantrill to help fill it. Not going to work. Relief staff, possibly the worst relief staff. I don't know. Okay, the White Sox were the worst relief staff. This is second worst relief staff.
This is a challenging group, though, I can tell you.
It's, Foucher, Tinoco, or the back end. It's not good. Fortes as their catcher. Nothing great there. They're relying on Matt Mervis, a top prospect reject from the Cubs at first base. He's a 3 true outcomes guy. Otto Lopez with some speed, decent fielder. Edwards I like. Xavier Edwards I like a lot.
Yeah.
Good hitter. Understands the plate. Good speed. They got something there that nobody knew they had. Connor Norby I like a lot too, who they got from the Orioles. He's injured right now. A little more plate discipline. I think he could be really good if he could get his head around. Bride, who had a good year last year, actually, unsung, is their backup. He's probably going to take over for Norby at third for now. The outfield stinks. They got Stowers from the Orioles. He never needed. Couldn't come up to his potential. Still hasn't. And if you don't do it with the Marlins, you're not going to do it with anybody. And Hill, Conine, they still have Jesus Sanchez. God help them. It's not good. That's a bad outfield. The one prospect I think you'll see come up is a catcher first baseman that they stole from the Yankees. Ramirez, Augustine Ramirez. I think you'll see him come up. I think he'll do okay. I don't think he's going to be fabulous, but he'll be okay.
Yeah. There's not much to add about the Marlins. Again, they don't ever seem to have a plan to win. They have a plan to develop a couple of guys, move on from them, develop a couple of other guys, and just be bad enough not to compete.
They actually did when they still had Jeter and Eng. Jeter is an owner and Eng is their GM, and then they dumped her or she left or a combination thereof, and now they look rudderless.
It shows you what a great job they did when they made the playoffs 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I think it was. Would still make.
Now he's gone.
Yeah, he'll be back in the league next year because I think you see what a great manager he must have been.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the Central, which it's funny. I like a team that you in the last few years have been so high on, and I've been down on. I've come to the revelation over the last week or so that Terry Francona is exactly what the Cincinnati Reds need for a little stability. Not that David Bell did a horrible job, but Terry Francona is at a different level than David Bell. Sorry. I hate to say that as a Yankee fan, but he did a great job with the Red Sox winning a World Series there after not winning for, I don't know, 2 of our lifetimes. And in Cleveland, he did a great job. I think he can help some of these kids like De La Cruz, who could be the best player in baseball if he harnesses his talent a little bit. Plus, you got guys like McLean that I think are bound to bounce back after injuries. It wasn't a lack of production. It was just injuries that held him back. I like their young pitching staff a lot. I mean, there's some guys there, again, who have some control issues, but there's a ton of potential there. And I think he's done really good in these types of situations. I think the Cubs bringing in Kyle Tucker to solidify that lineup from the left-hand side. He's going to be the big free agent pickup next year, by the way, unless he totally tanks this year, which I don't see happening. Swansby is underrated at shortstop there. I love the Shaw at third base, the rookie there. I love that kid's potential. There's some other pieces. Suzuki in the outfield is, not a great player, but they've got some really good players at other positions, and I think they're deeper than you think. And I like the Cubs actually to make a wild card and finish second in this division. The Brewers, I think, will step back a little bit. I just don't feel like there's enough talent throughout this roster, both pitching and hitting, to be consistently good. I think they'll finish third, maybe, and finish over 500, right? And stay ahead of the Pittsburghs and the Cardinals of the world. But I think they'll do very, very well. It's going to be interesting watching those teams. Maybe they'll battle it out a little bit still with the Council, the hangover. The people in Milwaukee still not too happy with Craig Counsell, who needed some time away from the game, and it turned out to be like a month away from the game. I like Pittsburgh to finish fourth. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I don't expect them to be any great shakes and making major leaps forward here, because, again, this is another organization that can't seem to get out of their way, but they've got Paul Skeens, and unless they mess him up somehow, they've got some decent little pieces. They don't have enough pop in my mind. They got some nice players like Charlie Hayes Jr., who plays really good defense. It hits for a decent average, but doesn't have the pop we thought he might develop by this point in his career. But they got some other nice pieces, and we'll get into it. I think they finish ahead of the Cardinals, who I think are going to be a dumpster fire. And Carlos Marmol is probably on the clock as we talk right now. So I like the Cardinals to finish last here, and you can dive in a little deeper, and we'll comment as we go.
Okay. Well, we switched the teams on the top. Not by much, but we switched them. I have the Cubs doing it.
Okay.
And not because of the Kyle Tucker thing. That helps, obviously, for obvious reasons. And don't be surprised if they try to sign him long term.
They will. They definitely will, yes.
But their pitching staff is underrated.
Very good. I didn't even touch on that. The starting staff I like for sure.
Steele just got bombed, but he's done that before and then bounced back nicely. He's a good pitcher.
Yeah.
Tejon, not so much. But Imanaga had a great year. Look for Matt Boyd. He showed finally back healthy what he could do at the end of last year, which is why they signed him.
Yep.
And Brown, who's filling the fifth slot with Assad injured. It's a decent staff. It's not a top flight staff, but it's a decent staff. The bullpen, they totally reworked. They traded for Presley from Houston. He's their closer. They still have Hodge, who was their closer for a while. Still have Pearson, still have Thielbar, still have Merriweather, signed Brazier. So tons of veteran bullpen guys. Brazier's injured right now, but the other 5 are not. So that's a decent relief staff, and that's what you need in case your starting staff isn't great.
Yep.
Amaya may come into his own. Their previous prospect catcher, Amaya, looks good. To help him along, they got Carson Kelly, great catcher. Doesn't hit, but he's a great catcher.
I like him.
Probably a really great tutor for Amaya. Horner is decent, good fielder. Shaw is the main reason they had to trade Smith to Houston because he was stopped up. Swanson, good fielder. Keep an eye on Bush. He was a big prospect for the Dodgers. He acquitted himself well last year. Nothing superlative, but good. I think he's going to take about 5 steps up this year. He had a hole in his swing. He's corrected it. He can hit lefties and righties now. He's firmly entrenched at first base. Keep an eye on Bush. He's going to be very good, I think. Outfield, Happ, Tucker, and Crow Armstrong, who's possibly the best fielder in the major leagues. Speed, good eye, cuts back. He's a great fielder. Still trying to figure it out at the plate. But that is a tight outfield. Remember, Happ was a former infielder, so,
Yeah.
they all can. That's a great defense. They got Suzuki as a backup when he's not DHing. This is a solid team. The starting staff needs a little more, but if they need to, they can bring up their number 2 prospect, 51 in the majors, Cade Horton. I think he'll come up, actually. I think you'll need him. I expect Taillon to get injured again. So you'll see him. It's got potential, I like him. I do have the Reds for second.
What's Carlos got to say? Or need to finish games, finish self-resting, have talent, not putting it to work. Well, it's been 1 game, so I'll give him a break for a little bit.
Well, I don't know how he's using the word finish. If he's talking about the relief staff, it's better. So they'll be fine. If he's talking about actually being able to come back, that's a whole different.
Yeah. There's a nice blend of young and experience on this team, and I always like that, right? And they got guys like you mentioned, Ian Happ, who's been very underrated throughout his career. I mean, he used to play a lot of different positions, and he doesn't quite so much anymore. But I think he's a great guy on this team in a clubhouse, and is going to help these kids. Some of these kids, and like he's brought along Nico Horner's a great example of a guy who's really grown over the last couple of years. So, and Council's now got to earn his money and get this team to finish, as Carlos said. So,
the Reds, you think I'd have given up on them by now, but I haven't yet. Especially, I would have, but once I got Francona, I'm like, okay, I got to give him another shot. Hunter Green is getting it. Still not there yet. Still walking too many, but he's getting it. They brought in Brady Singer. Okay, not bad, not great. He'll work. Lodolo, they keep expecting things from. They're using Spires. That's because both Abbott, Miley, who they signed, and Lauder, their big prospect, number 2 prospect, 35 in baseball, he's injured. But you'll see him. The pitcher you really need to watch and went totally under the radar last year, Nick Martinez.
Good.
Great numbers.
Yep.
Nobody watched him. He is actually behind Green. They're probably their number 2 pitcher. Keep an eye on him. Relief staff is in flux now.
Did you mention Brady Singer, by the way, under the radar?
He's okay. He's nothing great. He's not going to win. He's not going to lose it.
No, but to be your 5th starter, he's really good in that spot, and I think he'll surprise this year a little bit.
And again, never underestimate, as we've already mentioned, you in particular, the value of a veteran to help these young guys get their feet on the ground.
Absolutely.
And Lodolo fits that. Abbott fits that. Lauder fits that. Green fits that. So having him on the staff along with Nick Martinez, actually, who's
100%. Yep.
Is going to help.
Yep.
Relief staff's in flux right now. They signed Taylor Rogers, who's sort of lost it since he used to be the closer for the Twins. They still have Emilio Pagan. They still have Brent Suter. The actual good one here is Santillan, who, again, another one of those under-the-radar guys, great numbers. Alexis Diaz never was a great closer. Always walked a ton of guys. It was a heart attack watching him close. He's injured now anyway, so he's not going to be the closer. They used, I think, Brent Suter to close this last time, but keep an eye on Santillan. He is actually probably the best guy they got in there. And again, one of those names you don't know. Trevino, your old buddy, is their catcher for now with Stevenson injured.
I'm about to get a stolen base off at Trevino, I think.
Great handler. Great handler.
All of a sudden, he lost the ability to throw guys out. Maybe it was just something wrong with his mechanics lecture. I don't know. But he got 9 stolen bases in a game last year. Can't do that, I don't think. So maybe it's just an aberration. We'll see.
They've got him for his handling of the pitchers. Again, young staff, so they're looking to help that.
100%.
And because he's a good framer, if you believe in that stuff. Once they go to the robo umpires, we won't care about framing.
It's a great point.
Stevenson being injured is a loss, though. That's a huge loss for this team. Their infield is their strength, obviously, has been for a while. You talked about McLean coming back. He's playing second. They traded for Gavin Lux. I'm not quite sure why they needed him. He's never proven. They still think he's got potential. But they still had Espinal. They still had Candelaria. I'm not quite sure why they felt they needed him. He's just taking up space that one of the young guys could use. Here, the guy to watch here, which everyone was enamored with and then forgot about because he got injured, Encarnacion Strand.
Yeah.
Playing first base. Keep an eye on this kid. He looks healthy. He's launching again. He's going to be hitting just like he did his rookie half season. He's going to be sending them out. Obviously, De La Cruz is the star here. Led the league in strikeouts. Only hit 250. If he could correct either, well, one actually helps the other. If you strike out a lot, you're only going to hit 250. So if you can fix some of that, then you're going to get him in the 270, 280 range with the way he steals and the power, which he's barely still tapped into and still hit 25. This guy's going to be a superstar. He has the right attitude too, which is great. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. So that's, he's their star. He's their Bobby Witt Jr. Hey, they signed Hayes, who looks like he might bounce back a little bit. They still got Friedel, Fraley. They got a bunch of guys, none of whom, for whatever reason, can hit lefties, which is, I think, why they brought Hayes in, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's not an awful outfield. Fraley has potential. Friedel has potential. They both steal. They both have power, but they both have a hole in their swing. So they could do better, but it's not bad. It won't sink them. We'll put it that way. And that's, there's potential here. There's potential.
A guy I like on this team to bounce back a bit, health aside, Spencer Steer, maybe a little bit more under the radar. Last year, I think they threw him into the fray. Had a great year the year before, playing everywhere, really under the radar. And now he's kind of back under the radar. And I would watch him have a sneaky year this year. He
really underperformed last year. The take was that with all the injuries that he should have stepped up when they stuck him in there, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Is it because he was young and there was too much pressure on him? We don't know. The potential was there. He was one of their big prospects. It's probably why they acquired Lux, because they had doubts about Steer. That's unfortunate. I think they should have given him another shot, but they don't feel they have the time because they got Francona. So, yeah.
I think he'll get his shot at some point this year, and I expect him to step up.
Definitely. And now, we've talked about bench strength being a problem or bench weakness.
Yeah.
There's a great bench strength.
Yeah, I like the bench on this team a lot.
Steer, Espinal,
Even Lux, I think, might play well off the bench, not needing to play every day, that kind of pressure. I think you might see him be a more productive player in this role.
You might. He also has a hole in the swing. He can't hit lefties, and they've got him playing third. I just didn't see the need for him.
Yeah.
Brewers. Now, the reason I had them for last year, so shows you what I know. I have them for third, so I'm sort of hedging. But the problem that I thought they had is still the problem that I think they have this year, and that is that their strength is becoming a weakness, and that's their pitching. Their starting staff is not what it used to be. Peralta is still there, although I think he's on the downside. It's a slow downside, but I think he's still on the downside. They traded for Cortez, who you never know what you're going to get for him, as you know. They've got Savali at middle of the road, and then they got nobody. Toby Myers, Alan Ashby is injured. Woodruff will be back, and he's looking very good.
They need him to step up, and he needs to step up and come back and be the number one, because Peralta's a nice pitcher. He's not a staff leader and an ace. He needs to pitch in that 3 spot, at most, and that's going to be his comfort zone. Yeah. So Woodruff coming back is huge for this team.
Yeah, they still got Myers. They still got Ashby. They're injured, supposedly coming back May. Hall, who they had traded for with the Orioles when they got rid of Burns, he's back in June. And Robert Gatzer, their big prospect, who's injured until September. So maybe he'll show up if they're in the playoffs. Who knows? But again, they're not deep anymore. So they've had the injuries. They don't have the backups. We're back to a team with an unheralded relief staff. Names you don't really necessarily know, but when you can get rid of Hader and do well, when you can get rid of Williams and do well, this tells you that they know what they're doing in the bullpen. So they've got Trevor McGill, Tyler's brother, Payamps, Jared Koenig, Brian Hudson. It's an unheralded group. It's an unknown group. It's a very solid group. Catchers, William Contreras. Just that's all you need to say. I don't think Hasi as their backup matters one way or the other, but William Contreras, who had deficiencies as a catcher, has ironed those out. He is a top flight catcher, hitting, fielding, everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Infield now is weak. Go ahead.
Best catcher in the National League at a minimum, maybe in baseball right now.
Yep, definitely. Infield, Hoskins, I think you're going to see bounce back a little. Remember, he was still coming back from injury. He launched, he didn't hit. I think you'll see him get back to his career norms, the 240, 250 range. He'll hit his homers. I think he'll do okay for what he's supposed to do. Terang, improved, speedster, fabulous fielder. Still needs control of the plate. But he's still, again, young. Junior Ortiz is moving over to short now because they lost Adames. That's a big loss.
Big loss.
They're using Oliver Dunn at third. They brought up Vinny Capra, who's like 26 or 27 as a minor leaguer, which is old. The infield suspect right now, particularly on the left side.
Where's Chris Fgrave? I get a Capra call out and he's not here.
I'm going. Capra launched a home run in his first game, so the spring may not have been a fluke. Who knows? So we'll see. But right now, it's not a strength on paper anyway. Outfield, holy crap! What an outfield! Churio, who's only going to get better. Frelick, who was injured. People forget that. But Frelick is a speedster, great fielder. This is another team that believes in fielding. It's like the Royals. They're the Royals of the National League.
Yeah.
They believe in fielding. They believe in speed. Frelick is great. Mitchell, who's also coming off injury, solid speed, power, needs to control the strike zone a little bit. And they still have Yelich and Perkins, who's injured, but can come back. It's a great outfield. far as rookies, you're going to see Misiorowski come up. He was a big starting pitching. He's their number 4, number 99 for Major League Baseball. They're going to convert him actually to the bullpen, which is what they do when they can't find the plate. So they stick him in the bullpen and figure their stuff will play. And it may. So they may have a great reliever there. A couple of infielders will bring up Tyler Black, Caleb Durbin. Nothing to write home about, but they may be good. Who knows? Pirates are in trouble. When you lose Jared Jones to injury and you're signing Heaney as one of your starters, this is not good.
Right.
Keller's okay. He's no world shaker, but he's average. He's solid. Skeens, of course, is the highlighter here. They're going to need Bubba Chandler, who's their number 1 prospect, number 15 in baseball. They're going to need him, especially with Jared Jones hurt. All these guys that are throwing 100, they always get hurt. I'm waiting to see what happens with Skeens. I'm hoping it doesn't happen, but this is what happens. They're overstretching and overexerting arms that should be lasting years, and then they go out. They actually moved one of their decent relievers into the starting staff, Ladzinski. We'll see how he does. I don't think he's going to be any good. Their relief staff was decent. It is now no longer. Bednar has become the Rick heel of baseball.
Yeah.
Totally lost it. Nobody knows. He was injured at one point last year, but he hasn't found it. He is looking very bad. Holderman's decent. Dennis Santana, Ferguson, Strelecki, Mesa. Again, decent. They're not going to bail out any of these starters.
No.
It's not going to be pretty. Catching is actually one of their strong suits.
I like Joey Bart a lot, actually.
Bart, I think, did not work well under the spotlight. He was supposed to be he was crowned to be the successor at catcher for them. I think the pressure got to him. Last year, he was very good under the radar. I think he's going to be even better. And his backup, Andy Rodriguez, was a huge prospect that got injured. Great fielder. They're hoping his bat comes around. That's a great tandem at catcher. That's a great tandem. Infield is not good. It doesn't mean they can't field. Hayes is a great fielder, but he hasn't proven he can hit. He's stealing bases instead of hitting. They're still using Kiner Falefa. They're still using Nick Gonzalez. They traded for Horowitz, which was a good trade, but he's injured.
Yeah. There's too many guys here on this infield and even in the outfield that would be nice pieces on good teams.
Right.
But they're bad players on a bad team.
Yeah. I mean, Horowitz may help when he comes back. I mean, they signed Adam Frazier as a backup, which also is one of those telltale signs that this isn't good. They're using Tommy Pham in the outfield. Nice player. I've always liked him. And he always produces league average, maybe slightly better, works his butt off, but it's the other two. It's Reynolds, who everyone knows is a workhorse. Again, not going to put you over the top, but really solid player.
Yeah.
And putting O'Neal Cruz in the outfield. He already made an error. It's a work in progress when you move a shortstop to center, unless, you're dealing with somebody from, Padres, Merrill. But the idea is to put his speed to work out there. He wasn't a good shortstop. We'll see how it goes. Supposedly everyone's expecting him to really have a big year. I think he's going to have too many troubles with the fielding and it'll affect his hitting, is what I think. I think he'll be really good next year. I don't think he's going to be top of the line this year.
I would agree with all that.
And the Cardinals. Okay, this is, again, it's always nice to have these because it shortens the time frame. Sonny Gray, totally understated. Great stuff still.
Everywhere but New York. Yes.
Yeah.
Another guy everywhere but New York.
He's a quality pitcher. He's shown it everywhere else. Oakland, he's shown it here. He'll be injured, though, but that's, what are you going to do? Fetty, Mikolas, Payante, Liberatore. These are all past prospects who have not panned out that they're giving one more shot. Best pitcher they got is actually in the minors. He did pitch last year, still keeps his rookie status. I actually almost had him plugged in for Rookie of the Year until they sent him down because loyalty. You know, they got to see what they have because they've invested so much in Payante and Liberatore. But keep an eye on Mike McGreevy. That's all I'm going to say. Relief staff is not what it was. Helsley is great. I expect him to be gone by midseason. The rest of it is not great. So they're going to blow games. Catchers. Here's another name for you. Ivan Herrera. It's over 300. It's not a fluke. He hit it last year. He did it in the minors. Great catcher as far as fielding, handling of pitchers. This guy's going to be a star, and it's definitely going to end up being the new crowned head of catching for the Cardinals. Keep an eye on him. Wilson Contreras, who was the catcher, is now playing first base. I think it's a great move. It'll keep him healthy. His numbers are always under the radar. Solid numbers. Great OPS when he's healthy. Moving him to first will keep him healthy. And good fielder. Great instincts. So that's a good move. The rest of the infield's not pretty. You know, Gorman, Arenado's on the way down. Still fielding, not hitting. Wynn is a great fielder, not hitting. They're going to use Donovan a lot there, and they'll need to. Not great. Outfield, they're taking chances on guys. Siani, Walker, Victor Scott, who's probably the fastest guy in baseball. Hasn't been able to hit, though. Keep an eye on Nootbaar. I don't think he's going to be a world-class hitter, but I think he's going to be better than people think now that he's healthy. He's already shown it. He looks like he was solid before he got injured. I think Nootbaar will be decent. And they're going to need starters. All their starters are in the minors. Their number 2, Quinn Matthews. Their number 3, Tink Hence. And number 11, Mike McGreevy. I think you're going to see all 3 of them this year. And McGreevy's going to be the star.
Adds up to a long season for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, my God, yes.
So the West, the Dodgers are there. What do you say about the Dodgers? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, we're going over. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. Where was I? Oh, the Dodgers. What do you say about the Dodgers? We talked about it earlier. They got the best starting staff. They got 10 starting pitchers for crying out loud, basically. 5 of them are injured. So they got guys to plug in. I mean, before you even have a trade deadline moves, they've got guys to bring in that won't have played. You got Kershaw and Goslin, who may hopefully pitch at some point, and more. Plus, they bring in more big name guys and defer as much money as they can. I mean, they got almost the whole national debt deferred for all these guys. I'm not a big fan of Blake Snell, but he fits nicely in this rotation, I think. Behind Yamamoto and Glasnow. They're loaded. They're absolutely loaded, and they can afford injuries because they do have, I think, some guys to fill in and step in if guys get hurt. Freddie Freeman's one of the clutch players in all of baseball. I love it every time he goes back to Atlanta and they give a love fest. It's so fun to see, and he just seems like a good guy who gets it. Love Freddie Freeman. I just like this whole team. I like everything that they have going. I like Dave Rogers finally got the monkey off his back. They said he couldn't win a World Series. I don't care if he won in a 60-game season. He still won a World Series in the COVID season. Get off his back. He did some great jobs. He won a 100-game 2 years ago, losing his entire pitching staff, basically, for very long stretches. Great manager. The Giants, who disappointed a bit last year, I had them as a sleeper last year. I like the Giants this year to sneak up and finish second. I think Willie Adames is going to be one of the underrated signings of this offseason. They did a great job being so aggressive and going out and get him early because the teams that wanted him, the Yankees, the Red Sox, might have been the Mets. All these teams were waiting on Soto to make his decision. before they made a move, the Giants got out in front of it and got their man finally, after going after Judge and going after Correa and going after Ohtani and never getting their guy. They finally get a guy, and I like Adames' game a lot. You got it, maybe a couple of injury bugs here and there, but nothing major. I think he's a really good player. There's holes in this team. You know, the outfield's not great. I think the rotation's a bit underrated. The manager is top notch in my mind. I think this team they're going to have to overachieve, I think, to get there, but I think they can finish second in this division. The Diamondbacks will finish third. Great move getting Corbin Burns on this team. They got a tremendous staff with him in place, and the guys that were already there. I mean, how do you say it? Like fat? How do you say his name?
No, that's how you say it.
Fat. It doesn't look right to me, but you know, I'm not. The PH fat thing is always a little strange for me. You know, you got guys at the back of that rotation that would be at the top of other teams' rotation. I do like their bullpen. I like a lot of what they do on offense. A lot of it depends on guys having, you know, which guy you're going to get in Eugenio Suarez. Are you going to get the guy we had last year or the guy who had, you know, 190 a couple of years ago? But I think they'll finish third. The Padres, I expect to underachieve. I really do. I don't think the pitching staff is going to stay healthy enough to compete. A lot of great players on that. Guys that were great players, at least, in Machado, and Tatis is still a great player. I like Merrill a lot. But I just think there's too many holes around this diamond. And I think the window is closed on the Padres' real opportunity with this particular group, meaning Machado and Tatis and the guys that have been the backbone of this team for the last few years. And then, listen, the Rockies are competing with the White Sox and the Marlins and Cardinals to be the worst team in baseball this year. They can't get out of their own way. Again, maybe it's time for them to just sell the team, move it to frickin' Mars or something, and sell it to somebody who wants to make an effort here.
Put a AAA team in there instead. Probably be better.
Right? So go ahead.
Dodgers, best team money can buy, literally. New evil empire, just unfair. The whole system should be revamped to not allow this. This is, yeah, I mean, you covered the pitching staff. Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Sasaki. You know, right now.
Sasaki I left out. I mean, there's a guy who, you know, he's the fifth starter. He might be the rookie of the year.
Dustin May is their fifth. I mean, holy crap. You know, the relief staff, which they revamped to some degree. You know,
tremendous. Great
Scott,
stuff.
bringing in Scott and Yates. Still have Trinan. Still have Vesia. Phillips and Kopech are injured. They'll be back by the end of April. Gratterall's still injured. He'll be back by July. Just stacked. Catchers, Will Smith and Austin Barnes. What a tandem. You know, they each can hit on any day.
Yeah.
Wonderful handlers of pitchers, great fielders, superlative. Infield. Freeman, Edmund, I'm so on. Good fielder.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy I talked about who's a really good piece on a really good team, right? But when he's playing on the Pirates, he's no good. But here he fits.
Yep.
And produces.
Muncy, the older Muncy, he's a 3 true outcome guy, decent fielder. So I'll give him that. And he'll drive guys in because he's a 3 true outcome. But you know, and Betts at short. Unfortunately, Betts has been injured. Now he's sick. He's getting better. We'll see how he does at short. I mean, he's done it. He's done okay at it. You know, it's not his best position.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this, him in the infield at all, second, third, whatever you want to say. I think he's better in the outfield. He'll be healthier in the outfield and hit more. But, you know, they got guys in the outfield too. So it's, you know, they're trying to they're putting the best offensive team out there. Mookie's not going to be win a Gold Glove, but he'll get the job done, I think.
Right. And their backups all could get Gold Gloves. You got Rojas, you got Taylor, you got Kiki Hernandez, all of which have been with the team in the past. decent fielders. All utility guys can play anywhere. They're not going to replace the hitting, but they'll definitely help the fielding if they need to.
They're also guys who know their place too. Tommy Edman and Hernandez. I don't know about Rojas, but those two guys specifically, they could have gone elsewhere, probably got more money, but they know that their real value is on a team like this.
Well,
and
money can buy. Who would
exactly.
want to be on that?
Yeah.
Outfield, Pages, he's still young, Andy. We don't know how he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be that great. I think re-signing Teoscar was a great move.
Another guy I would throw in that group with Edman and whatnot. Better player on this, because you get lost in this on this team. You don't have to be the guy. Teoscar Hernandez didn't perform when he needed to be the guy in Seattle. Here he does.
Seattle's a tough park, and there have been tons of stories of guys getting psyched out when they go there because of the ballpark.
Fair.
Whether he was one of them, nobody can really say, but he did it. He bet on himself. He proved he could play in LA. Why wouldn't you resign when you have a bottomless pocketbook? So why not? And they signed Conforto. He's not going to be what they think. They're looking for another Teoscar. They're not going to get it. He's solid. He's healthy. He's not going to be fantastic. He'll be average, and he'll hit some home runs. He's not going to be great. They're not going to get another Hernandez there.
32 years old. Where did it? I mean, I'm like, how can this guy be 32? I feel like he just came up, and we're waiting for him to get better. Because we were waiting for, he had a couple of those teaser years back in 18, 19, whatever it was. That's a long time ago now in the baseball world, right? And we've been waiting for him to have those seasons ever since, and he just hasn't really gotten it back together.
One of the many who got injured and just couldn't bounce back to where he was before he got injured.
Yeah.
They're rookies, obviously. Sasaki, who's #1 rookie in baseball. They've got Ben Kasperius up. He's their number 14 relief pitcher, who's taken care of because of all those other guys. And they may or should probably bring up, they got Dalton Rushing, who's their number 2, number 30 in baseball, catcher, first baseman. They've been putting him in the outfield, as they do with everybody when they try to find a place for him. He may come up. I don't think it'll be long. I think it'll be later. He may be decent, but they're trying to find a spot for him. My big comment when I was getting prepped for this is disgusting and impressive at the same time. It's wrong.
Well, and the most likely reason we're going to have a work stoppage in 27. I think we got one more year on the CBA is going to be is why we're going to have a work stoppage coming up.
Yep. Now, for number 2, I actually have Arizona in. We'll get to why when I discuss the Giants. Signing Burns was smart. They still don't know what they're going to get with Eduardo Rodriguez, who they signed as a free agent. He was injured.
Mm-hmm.
Fott looks good. Merrill Kelly's on the downside, but he's still decent. And, of course, Zach Gallen, who was even slightly off and still looked good. It's a decent staff. Their bullpen is great. They got Justin Martinez. They got AJ Puck. Nobody knows who the closer is, and maybe they don't need one. They can just alternate those two guys.
Yeah.
Ginkel's injured, but he's good. They still have Manta play. Ryan Thompson, who's an up-and-comer. They do all walk a ton of batters a little bit, which is their issue. But whose bullpen doesn't nowadays? Catchers, Moreno and Jose Herrera. Don't get him confused with Ivan Herrera. He is not Ivan Herrera. He's both Jose and not as good. Some hitting potential, no power. They do handle the staff well. Moreno, who they got from the Blue Jays a while ago. Infield, Josh Naylor. Hit 30 home runs. People forget that. He's no Christian Walker as far as fielding goes, but he could replace the power and the hitting. Ketel Mark, Marte, everyone expected it a while back. He had the one good season, didn't show, and then boom, here he goes again. Which one are you going to get? Hard to know, but if he's anywhere close to what he did last year, he was an MVP candidate.
Yep.
Suarez, actually, when you discussed, is it the 190 season or the 300 with the 30 home runs? Those were the same season. He was hitting 190 by June. That's
fair.
And then all of a sudden, he's like, okay, yeah, this is my first year here. I'm comfortable now. Now I'm going to go hit. Has Suarez ever hit 300? No. Where the hell did that come from? The power is not a surprise. And the fact that he did it in San Diego is even a slight surprise. That's San Diego's a tough part. Will he sustain some of it? Yes. Is he going to hit 300? Hell no. But I think he'll give you his normal 250, 240 with his 30 home runs. Very understated fielder, by the way. People forget he's a good fielder.
That's a good point.
And Perdomo at short, whatever. They signed Garen Hampson to be their backup utility in the infielder, Colorado product. Not bad, not great. Everyone's expecting Pavin Smith to step up. But they already have Naylor, so they really don't need him to step up. They may play him in the outfield, and he has a hole in his swing, so we'll see. Outfield, still have Lourdes Gurriel, still McCarthy, who's a great fielder, speed, no power, and, of course, Corbin Carroll, who finally figured it out last year.
I think Carroll really steps it up this year. And Lourdes Gurriel reminds me of a guy from back in my youth. He reminds me a lot of Roy White. They try to replace him every single year. And come opening day, he's playing he's in the opening day lineup. So,
yep. I mean, he's not bad. He's not a great fielder. He's not a bad fielder. He's not a great hitter. He's not a bad hitter. He's
again a guy who's good on a good team.
Right.
Fits well on a good team.
Yep. Alec Thomas is a backup, another speed fielding guy. Jordan Lawler, they've been trying to bring him up, their number one prospect, 11 in baseball, for a while. But they just signed Perdomo to a 3-year contract, so I don't know what they're going to do with Lawler. I think that was a mistake. I think they should have given Lawler a shot. He's been injured, but whatever. I got San Diego third. I'm not a fan of the Giants. We'll get to them.
I'm gathering by now.
Cease, King, keep an eye on Pivetta. If they can straighten out his home run tendencies, his stuff is great. They got him from Boston. His problem is he grooves way too many pitches and they fly out quickly. If they can fix that, then they may have something on their hands.
That's a problem for many bad Major League Baseball players, by the way.
Yep. Waldron and Darvish are hurt until May. Musgrove is done for the season. This is not as deep as it used to be. Not quite sure where their pitching is going to come from if there's a problem. Relief staff is great. They've got horses and Suarez, Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada. That's a great back end. Don't know who they have before that, but they may not need them. Those three are solid. Catchers, they went with no-hit experience with Elias Diaz and Maldonado. Good handlers. They're not going to throw anybody out. They're not going to hit. Infield is Arraez. Now they've got him at first, which is usually a power position, and he has none. Okay, fielder. He's going to get you your 300, and that's about it. Cronenworth is playing second. Great fielder, mediocre hitter. Machado, they're hoping for a bounce back from Bogarts. Do you believe these guys actually signed Yuli Gurriel as a backup? He is on the major league roster. I can't believe it. Their other backup on the infield for first in particular, keep an eye on Gavin Sheets. He was lost on the White Sox, but he was decent. He already launched one in a pinch hit capacity. He's not going to be a world beater, but he's understated. I like that signing. That was a good one. Still have Merrill, still have Tatis in the outfield. Hard to beat that. Merrill's problem is he still doesn't take a pitch. If he can do that, he would be superlative. They're using Justin Hayward in the other outfield spot to replace Profar. That ain't going to work.
That won't last for long.
He's way on the downside, and they have no backup. There's no outfielders really to speak of. Pavin Smith, maybe Gavin Sheets. It's not good. If any of those guys get injured, it's not good. And rookies, they may need some of their lower pitching ones, but there's no one to even name. That is not good. That's because Preller sold off most of them to get his players who then leave during free agency. So this is where they are. Giants, pitching staff, who the hell knows? You got Webb, great. Keep an eye on Robbie Ray. I think you're going to see a renaissance from him that's going to
Robbie Ray a lot. Yeah. Cy Young Award winner 2 years ago.
You know, he's coming back from injury again. He's learned a couple of new pitches to add to his arsenal. Always relied on his fastball. Now he's added a couple more. If he can take care of his control, he could be a Cy Young candidate. We'll see. But he's looked very good so far. Verlander, who knows what's in the tank. They're using Jordan Hicks still, who they converted to starter. He was mediocre. They're using Roop right now as their fifth starter. They're gonna end up relying on some of their starting pitcher prospects. I can see this coming a mile away. I'll give you their names in a minute. Relief staff. Ryan Walker turned into a huge steal last year. Great control. Weird delivery, but it works. Tyler Rogers is still effective. Same situation. Another weird delivery, but it works. And then you're in trouble. They got nobody else. You got to hope Doval figures out how to find the plate again. He was their closer. He's been awful. There's nothing else there. That's a problem. Catcher, Bailey. Great catcher. Don't know that he'll ever really hit. Fabulous fielder. Throws out runners like crazy. Works the pitchers. Great catcher. And he's young, which is nice. They signed Sam Huff, who I've had an eye on for years. He was a prospect for the Rangers. He's their backup right now. He's a hitter. He's not a great catcher. But if they give him a shot, it might be interesting to see what he's got. Infield, this isn't going to scare anybody. The right side is awful. You know, they got Wade on first. They got Fitzgerald on second, who played over his head. Chapman on third and Adames at short. That left side is solid.
I like Chapman. I mean, it wasn't an awful year last year, but he struggled early in the year. I think he's going to have he's settled in there now, and I think he's going to have a really big year this year, along with Adames over there.
Low to mid 30s in age, and they still signed him to a 3-year contract.
Yeah,
you know, he's launching 30. So is Adames. They're both good fielders, really good fielders, which people don't give Adames credit for. But they're also both only going to hit 240, 250, which doesn't help.
Right.
But the right side of that infield is awful. Outfield is not good. You got Ramos, who looked good, former prospect, came back decent. Ironically, his platoon is on the right side. You can't hit righties. That's a problem. You know, can't hit lefties. There's only so many of those. You can't hit righties. You got a problem. But maybe Helio can figure it out and be decent. Yastrzemski is, you know, all right. Nothing fabulous. Luis Matos from Baltimore. All right. Nothing fabulous. Keep an eye on Lee. Young-Ho Lee. He was their big signing last year, got injured, still was acclimating. He looks comfortable.
Yep.
I think you may even see more power. He was supposed to be a 300 machine, great fielder. I think you might see some power. He might be someone to keep an eye on.
I think a year of adjustment, getting healthy will help him a lot. I think this is another reason I like this team, and I'll give you the biggest reason once you're done here.
They're going to need their rookies, their prospects to come up for the starting staff. I don't see their starting staff as anything great. They're going to need Carson Wisenhunt, their number 2, Trevor McDonald, their 10, Trent Harris, their 11, Mason Black, their 12. All 4 of them are in their top 15 of their 30. They're going to need at least 2 or 3 of those guys. I don't like the back end. I don't like Hicks. I think Verlander's going to get injured again. Don't know anything about Roop. they're going to need those.
If there's a guy I want managing a team that needs to overachieve, it's going to be Bob Melvin. 6 out of 10 years, I think, in Oakland, he had teams very similar to this. You look at him on paper and go, oh, yuck. But he finds a way to win. He would get those teams to the playoffs, or at least battling for the playoffs. And, then they'd rebuild again, and he'd do it again with a bunch of names we don't know. Then we knew them, and then we get rid of them because that's what the A's did. And until they stopped even getting any guys that they could produce.
Except in San Diego. It didn't go well in San Diego.
It didn't go well, but again, I think he's the type of manager who does better in this situation where nothing's expected than where everything's expected. And I think that's the difference here. And one of the big differences here. Now, they got to perform. And I do like some of these guys like Chapman and Damas and Lee to really step up. I think Wade's going to have a better year than you think. And I think the two guys at the top of that staff, Webb and Ray, will have really good years, and that's going to go a long ways. And I think Verlander will have enough in the tank to at least, be a productive third starter here, and somebody else will come along and they'll develop him. Well,
I'm glad, by the way, I forgot to mention to see you come back on Roberts. I remember you talking about too much was expected of Roberts, and you thought his head was on the chopping block last year. I remember that at one point.
On who?
Roberts. For the Dodgers.
Dave Roberts. Yeah, well, again, because of high expectations, right?
But you come around. I'm glad to see that.
I don't think he necessarily should have been on the chopping block. I'm talking because, again, sometimes it's not just what I don't think guys ought to be on the chopping block, but they're going to be just because of the organization they work for, the fan expectations. Again, not unfairly. I mean, I spoke very highly of Roberts 2 years ago, and he won 100 games with, again, his whole team hurt. I've mentioned pitchers, but also the starter or the regular lineup. He had a lot of injuries too. Then he flames out in the playoffs, and that's where that's where that pressure comes from eventually. Right. So
now the Rockies, their starting staff is actually the most stable staff in all of baseball. The contract. They've had all 4 of these guys for years, and my comment to that is, unfortunately,
it's that good.
It's the most stable staff in baseball.
Oh, God.
Unfortunately. Freeland, Feltner, Marquez, Senzatella. They've had these guys for years. They've held on to them for years. No pitcher wants to come to Colorado to pitch. There's a reason for that, obviously. It's not good. The relief staff is even worse. Kinley, Vodnik are 2 names you may remember from last year. They would implode at a drop of a hat. They're using their number 25 prospect, Seth Halverson, to try to help out. It's not good. Catching, they've got Stallings, veteran, can't throw anybody out. Good handler. Keep an eye on Goodman. They're using him in catcher now. He was brought up as a catcher. They converted him to outfield. Now they need him as a catcher again because Diaz left. He's got a ton of power, but he had a hole. He couldn't hit lefties as usual. If he can figure that out, he might be worth something. He's got some power.
Yeah.
Infield, Tolias. Speaking of power, he's a 3 true outcome guy. Tons of power. Can't control the strike zone. He walks, he strikes out. McMahon is still there. God bless him. Tovar. Again,
not to repeat myself, you put Ryan McMahon on a good team and he'd be a really productive piece.
Right.
Here he's just another mediocre player.
Right. Well, he's going to be mediocre anyway, but he fit in nicely somewhere else.
But mediocre guys are much more valuable within used the right way in a productive.
Exactly. Everyone likes Tovar because he hit 30 home runs, but again, another 3 true outcome guy. He was number 2 in strikeouts behind De La Cruz.
Yeah.
Another one of those shortstop sluggers. Again, extremely young. Extremely young. I think he's only 20, maybe 21 now. He's been up for 2 years. It came up at 19. So he still needs to figure it out. But potential. Outfield, they're bringing up their former number 1 prospect, Jordan Beck, who hasn't done anything for a while. Brenton Doyle is still their go-to. He's got speed. He can hit. Could field. He still strikes out too much, but there's potential. And let us not forget They still have Chris Bryant.
Chris Bryant, 3 years, 17 home runs, 65 RBIs.
Quality stuff. Hey, he's not Rendon.
Well, none of us are.
He actually plays periodically. But yeah, no. And they even signed Martini, who had a big flash in the pan moment with the Reds previously. Rookies, they're going to need Chase Dolander sooner than later. He's their number one, 25 in baseball. Good stuff. A little control as usual. And they're going to another former like Beck. Beck and Zach Veen were their two big rookies. They've since sloughed off, but they're going to bring them up and see what they can do. But it's ugly. They're in some ways they're almost worse than the Angels as far as
I would give you.
They've had a lot of turmoil. Some guys, some GMs that were just god awful, ran it like fiefdoms and ran it into the ground, and they're just trying to rebuild. They have some farms that Angels can't say that, but it's not that much better.
Nope.
All right. Wild cards. What do you got?
So we got our division winners. What do we got? We both got the Braves. I got Cincinnati. You got the Cubs. We both got the Dodgers.
Yep.
And I have the Cubs.
Okay. Well, that's because you have the Reds. So yeah.
Yeah, and I went. My math is not good, and I'm not sure how this is going to work out mathematic-wise. With the Dodgers going to win freaking 110 games, but I got the Giants and the Diamondbacks both making the playoffs. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but they have to win a lot of games out of the division. But I got the Giants and the Diamondbacks both making the playoffs here.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I have the Diamondbacks too, but I have the Reds because I had them for second, whereas you had them for first. So that makes sense.
Makes sense.
And I've still got the Phillies over the Giants.
It's going to be hard. I'm hoping that the East beats itself up. The Nationals are a little bit better than I think they are, and they can take some wins away from the Mets and Phillies. And the Giants and Diamondbacks can both sneak in there. They're going to have to both win 90 games somehow in a division where the winner is going to win 110. That's going to be tough. But
and who wins the championship?
I have the Dodgers repeating. I don't know how you pick against them.
Okay. And the series?
The Dodgers
over the Orioles.
Over Baltimore.
That's what
I had Baltimore over the Dodgers last year, actually.
Yep. That's
what
I have too.
The same series, but the Dodgers winning it. Again, as you said before, it's disturbing and exciting all at the same time. They're a great team. It's a matter of whether this will be the last team like this we see is going to be the question, I guess.
All right, we doing honors or no?
Yeah, let's do the honors. We'll go through it quickly here. We'll start with the most valuable player in the American League. I'm going to go with Bobby Witt.
So do I.
I think he gets over the top this year. Judge won't repeat. There's some other candidates, but I think I like Bobby Witt here.
Yep.
In the National League, I'm going to take a guy that I live and die with in other circumstances. I'm going to take a big bounce back from Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll wins the National League MVP.
Okay, that's a valid one. I have Ohtani actually repeating.
Hang on, I got to write yours down here. Witt and Ohtani. That's not a bad pick either, until he proves he can't do it. Especially if he pitches some. I mean, who knows what'll happen, if he gets to pitch some, how that'll play into it.
That's what I did.
Cy Young Award. American League. Logan Gilbert.
Okay. Good pitcher. I have Skubal repeating. I think he is just head and shoulders above it, unless he gets injured.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a pitcher with his stuff and his control since Koufax.
Good pick. Well, that's pretty high praise right there. For sure. By the way, Skubal, I definitely think has a chance, by the way, to certainly do something there as well. But I'll go against the grain just a little bit.
That's fine.
National League. The easy pick is Skeens. Not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Wheeler.
That's who I have.
Yeah, but we got a lot of the same here this year.
He's been a bridesmaid, never a bride for so
Right.
long. You know, if he easily was in the running last year. Easily.
Yeah, easily for sure.
And I just want to see him win it because he deserves it.
I'm with you. Rookie of the year. I know you don't like this pick, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Kumar Rocker from the Rangers.
I don't, but you're within your rights. He's just going to walk too many guys. He's
By the way, Cam Smith would be my runner up there.
That's who I picked.
Did you pick Cam Smith? There you go.
I did.
That's a good pick. Very good pick. Manager of the year.
Oh, wait, we got to do the National League.
Did I miss one? Oh, National League. Sorry. I wrote down your pick in the wrong place. Matt Shaw.
Okay.
Cubbies.
Just so you know, every now and then, I didn't do it this year and the other ones, but for Rookie of the Year, it's so variable. I always have names. The names I had for consideration were Will Warren, Jackson Jobe.
Like it? Like both?
Chase Meadroth, and Noah Schultz of the White Sox, and Cam Smith. And I took Smith.
Yeah.
For the National League, I had Jake Baldwin, Matt Shaw, Bubba Chandler, Roki Sasaki, obviously, and Dylan Cruz.
The Dylan Cruz I like. He'd be my backup here.
That's who I picked, was Dylan Cruz.
Did you?
Yeah. But again, keep an eye on Mike McGreevy. The guy, look up his numbers from last year, see what he did in the spring, and they still sent him down because they're trying to give their previous two prospects adoption. I would have picked him, actually.
Manager of the year. American League.
Yep.
Dan Wilson.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went with Hinch.
Good pick, too.
If Wilson gets the Mariners over there, he deserves it.
Yeah. I think Alex Cora will be in the running there as well with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Just to throw another name out there. National League. Plenty of candidates here. But I'm going to take the man on the rebound, Terry Francona.
That's who I got too. If he can put him over the top, he deserves it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Lovello will be a candidate. Council, if they produce, will be a candidate. And I think Mendoza, if the Mets surprise me, I think might be a candidate. But I don't think they're going to do well enough for that to happen.
No. Problem with people like Council is he's expected to do well. So to give him Manager of the Year, it's not,
Yeah, you really got to overperform there. Right. So, comeback player of the year, no shortage of candidates here in the American League. You got guys like Bichette. We talked about Evan Carter, like in this role.
He's in the minors now.
If he gets time, I think he'll have a chance. Gleyber Torres, you could put here. Mike Trout, who had decent numbers, playing 100 games or whatever he played. Liam Hendricks, no. I like Walker Buehler to be a comeback player to American League and the National League, or the American League. Sorry,
that's a good pick. I took Bichette.
I feel like the National League's a no-brainer based on some comments I've made earlier in this, because one guy I didn't throw out his name in the National League Cy Young was Strider. I think he'll be in the top 3, top 5. I got him as my comeback player of the year in the National League.
Okay. My only issue with him is whether the granted he was injured, but it wasn't Tommy John surgery, and he did look good for part of last year. So I don't know how much shrift they'll give him on that.
Well, that's a good point.
I took Alcantara.
Good pick. Good pick. Robbie Ray's another guy to think about. You mentioned earlier.
Yeah, he's going to be up there. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, we were on the same page here a lot. So anyway, we'll revisit these picks. It's often during the course of the year, as I make sure I keep this with me this year. Always seems to find its way into my throwaway pile by accident some point.
Well, that's what you have me recording it for too, anyway. So we back each other.
Yeah, but then I got to rely on you. I don't know. You go, yeah, no, you said that, Yogi Berra was going to be the manager of the year. I remember what you said.
That would be a problem.
It's been fun.
He'd still be better than some.
All right. Drew, it's been fun as always. We're going to wrap it up here. I appreciate everybody who has popped in and out. I've seen you guys come in and out. We had a few commentators. It's probably best that we didn't have any more, or we'd be here till about 9 o'clock at night because we can both talk forever. But it's been fun. And Drew, I appreciate you coming in as always. And we'll probably do a recap, a mid-season recap at least, and see how badly we're doing at that point. Because that's always fun to see how we stack up. But we'll talk about it probably each and every week as we go forward. And we'll be back with our normal MLB update next Friday. And we'll see you Sunday with the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you Sunday. Thanks, Drew. Thanks everyone.
For having me.
Bye-bye.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku.